Alrighty, welcome to episode 94 of Talk Was Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Elon Musk has eliminated the remaining $6.25 billion of a $12.5 billion margin loan on Tesla shares he owns, which was originally intended to be used to fund part of his Twitter acquisition. Musk has instead gained more equity finance, including a $1 billion commitment from Oracle founder Larry Ellison. Since the elimination of Musk's margin loan, Tesla shares have bounced back from their $628 near 12-month low to close this morning at $758. Elon Musk is being sued by Twitter shareholders for what they allege is stock price manipulation, which was facilitated by him failing to disclose his passing a 5% stake in the company within the mandated 10 days, as demanded by regulations enacted by the Securities and Exchange Commission. In failing to promptly disclose his shareholding position, Musk is being accused of saving $156 million of costs for shares he purchased, which would otherwise have been more expensive had he disclosed his previous purchases. Tesla has improved the accuracy of its navigation trip calculator with the release of its version 2022.16.0.2 software, which now incorporates predicted prevailing wind, humidity, and temperature conditions along the planned route, as well as the previously utilised speed, elevation change, and HVAC use characteristics. Reuters has reported the Shanghai Gigafactory as regaining 70% of its pre-shutdown production levels, according to a report in which it quoted two unnamed sources. The same sources also stated that Tesla will be further increasing output later this week, which is in line with Tesla's ambition of producing 16,000 cars per week. Gigapress manufacturer Idra has released a teaser video of its biggest in-class 9,000-ton Gigapress, which may be destined to be installed at Tesla's Gigafactory in Austin, Texas. The new press is rumoured to be used for the casting of a substantial portion of the Cybertruck's underbody onto which its stainless steel exoskeleton is mounted. And that was this week's news. And welcome back. So, has anyone got any other bits of news? It was a little bit short this week because I was super duper busy, so I had to sort of get it out fairly quickly. As I think it was Damon mentioned, there's a email that's gone to everyone that's got Starlink, basically saying that you can refer people and you get up to 12 months of free access. So I presume everyone got that email? Who's got Starlink, that is?
Yep.
Yeah. So it looks like it's 1 month per referral.
Correct. Up to 12. Yep.
Yeah. Which is good. They've limited it.
And prior to the 30th of June, I think.
You mean just the 30th of June, in other words, for the next month?
Correct. That was my interpretation of it.
Oh, right.
It looks like he can possibly backdate people that you've referred. You have to have their account number, though. If you click on the link there, then it asks you to what people have you referred, and asks for their the people's account numbers.
Okay,
You should re-refer yourself, Harold.
Yeah, why not? So we've got
a second dot point.
Referral only counts for a new Starlink customer between today and June 30, 2022. Yeah, right. So it is only for this month and is not cancelled within 30 days of shipment. Interesting. Well, let's refer away. So anyone that who's got Starlink? I think Damon's got Starlink. Pete's got Starlink. Nigel's got Starlink, but unfortunately Nigel's in the UK.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
He's probably getting.
I don't have my RV yet, so sorry, guys. You can't refer to me.
Oh dear.
Steve, just while you're on, sorry, just quickly, I noticed you sent a message
Yep.
to me. I tried to reply, but speaking of Starlink, I was on Starlink and it logged out. So I'm not sure if my reply did actually go through, but I've
No.
lost all my messages in chat now, so I can't even see it anymore.
Yep. No, they didn't get your response.
Oh, it didn't come through? All right,
No.
I'll do it again.
Thank you.
No worries. Cheers.
Now Harold couldn't have his show back.
It's never mine in the first place. I'm just trying to herd the
The cats.
Now, if there's anyone new, please do say hello. Apologies, Shane, you look new, but you might have been on before. If you have, apologies, and if you haven't, welcome.
Thanks. I've only briefly tuned in a couple of times, and yeah, I'm new. I feel like a newbie, and I have newbie questions.
All right, well, fire away, because this show was literally made just for you.
Thank you. Well, it's been a roller coaster. So I ordered a Model 3 in December, and yeah, they were effusive with confidence that I would have something, within 3 months, and then when it got close to that, I rang and they said, "Oh, don't be silly." And so my delivery date has shifted from, I thought May, but honestly, maybe I misunderstood what they said. Then they said June or July, then they said September, then they said December, then they said September. Yeah, and I also had the same reaction. So I was thinking, great product, terrible communications. So like I was trying to say to them, look, I understand the reasons for it, but this flip-flopping with the date. And anyway, so it wasn't a great experience with one of the staff members, but actually other ones were really helpful in communication later on when they realized. And they got my contact details wrong, even though it's all logged in the the Tesla website.
Who are you speaking there with?
Well, the person who helped smooth it all out and resolve all the communication problems was Kiara. So I don't know how they were getting contact details wrong and where I was getting mixed dates from. But Kiara rang me Thursday last week and said, look, obviously we still don't have your car and maybe September, but we're selling a slightly used demo model. So I paid for it and picked it up on Friday. It's been a blast.
Oh, congratulations, man.
Oh,
Thank you.
That's awesome that was able to happen.
Yep.
We have gotten some information that Tesla have been doing things like that, and they've actually been doing it at their own expense as far as impinging on the way they use the cars for themselves.
Right.
So, well, that's great. So you've
Being
got
It is
a
great.
demo, was it discounted?
Look, they gave me a slight discount, about, I think it was just over 5,000, and it was a performance model, not the color I wanted, but it's better to have a car than not have a car.
what color did you get?
Well, I ordered red with
Yep.
white seats, but they had a white with white seats, white interior. So look, and it's beautiful, of course, as you all know, and it's amazing. And Emma, my wife, says, we're not driving, we're floating. And
You can always get it wrapped red.
well, look,
Like,
Not burnt orange.
this is red.
How many Ks were on it as a
This
demo?
has been wrapped.
yeah, 3,000. So I did
Oh,
wonder
that's
how.
brand new, man.
That's a bargain.
Absolute bargain.
Yeah, so Shane, you've
You
got
can
a really
actually
good
sell it
deal.
secondhand now for more than you bought it for.
Well, so look, initially when Kiara called and she said, look, I'm calling you because I know things have been difficult, and she wanted to see if this would help me out. And at first I was really stuck on what I ordered, and I thought, don't be stupid, don't. And right, like if and when the red one comes, maybe I can sell this one, or maybe I can keep both. Actually, my plan was to buy 2 this year, get one early in the year, see if the family likes it, and then consider whether to get another one. So I think
Actually,
I'm just doing things in reverse.
Shane, the no-brainer is just to go and buy yourself a Y. So you've got a 3 and a Y, which will then be perfect, because the Y is
You know,
better for some larger bits.
and I think that's what my wife would appreciate too. So originally that was my idea, because in December people were saying, people who were at the store the day I was looking at the Model 3, they said, "Oh, we're going to wait until March next year," meaning a few months ago, "and we'll order the Y then." But of course, it's still not even available for order. But right, so that would be, I mean, that's kind of what I was wondering. Like, okay, I'll get the 3, and then we'll see. Because yeah, it makes sense to have some variety, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Y is probably one of the most perfect form factors, because it rides higher than the 3, but it's not really any wider than the 3. It's got a back boot lid. What do you call it? Hatchback. So you can put more things in the car. Now, just a pro tip: if and when the order page finally does open, just order one. Or put it this way: set yourself up to make a decision that you want to order one, and if that decision is yes, as soon as you hear about the order page opening, just go and order it, and make sure you worked out what color configuration you want. In which case,
Right.
it might be white on white, because you worked out that that's actually awesome, or it might be red and white, or whatever. But the pro tip is that yes, there will be once the Model Y comes in, the cars will be delivered fairly quickly, but within possibly days or even hours, the order book will be full, and the delivery times will blow out to 12 months, like the Model 3. So the pro tip, and this is for everyone in the room and watching on YouTube, is if you sort of have this little scratch that you want to itch, and you go, oh, maybe I might think about buying a Model Y, just before the order book opens, make up your mind, and then decide whether you want to do it or not, because then you'll have a chance of getting it in a reasonable time from when you've ordered it, as opposed to the agonizing wait for 9 to 12 months.
Can I make just a comment about color selection? So my wife and I were debating whether we were white or red, and I didn't mind either. My wife really wanted the red. So, but to get particularly the Model X in red, to get it in red was going to cost it more than getting it in white and then just getting the red vinyl wrap. And then if I got it in red, I would have got a clear vinyl wrap to help protect the paint anyway. So we got it in white, vinyl wrapped it, and it actually has been protecting the paint, because I've actually had a couple of stone chips from trucks come up and smashed my windscreen. I put a crack in it, and you can actually see where a couple of stones hit the vinyl wrap, and it's damaged just a tiny little bit of the vinyl wrap, but the paint underneath is perfectly fine. And then this is 2.5 years old now. Apart from that, it's perfectly holding up perfectly fine. There's no problems with it sticking, holding to the paint. And then if I ever want a color change, we can take it off, keep the white, or change to a different color. I think a lot of vinyl wraps, they've got 6 years warranty or something on the vinyl wraps. Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
just the thing with so you can see the picture behind me, I didn't do the door jambs because to do those it's cost 50% more for the vinyl wrap, but also they have to take the doors off, and there was no way I was going to get a third-party company removing the doors, particularly the Falcon Wing doors, to do inside the door jambs. So when the doors are closed, you don't even know that it's white. It's only when you open them up. But
can I ask
yeah, it definitely helps protect the paint.
I mean, months ago I was thinking, oh yeah, I've got to get that done. And then I started to wonder, does the vinyl also cover the cameras and therefore affect their functioning, or did they
No.
cut around them? So
My vinyl goes over the ultrasonic sensors and they work perfectly fine, but not over the cameras. The cameras are on glass areas that are not vinyl wrapped. Now,
okay.
Distinct Customs in Osborne Park actually give the 10% discount to Topwa members. That's who I went through. A lot of other members have gone through other different companies, but if you mention that you are a Topwa member, a Tesla Owners Club WA member, they'll give you 10% discount at
Thanks. What was that?
Distinct Customs
what?
in Osborne Park.
Distinct
Customs.
Mm.
Yeah.
One thing to bear in mind is Damon's image behind him is actually been doctored on Photoshop.
Here we
This is
go.
actually the true colour of his car, and this was screen capture from the national broadcaster using a very high quality
burnt
broadcast,
orange.
and it's just burnt orange. So
They
make sure you
can't colour
don't order the burnt orange. Although look, burnt orange looks great. You know, nothing wrong with it.
My dad had a burnt orange Ford in the 80s. He was proud.
There you go. So, you know, like father, like son, you could get yourself a burnt orange Model 3.
Go with the burnt orange kitchen.
Hey, that's all
And look,
coming
can
back.
I
The
just give
70s, the 70s is
Yeah.
back in style.
We also had a burnt orange kitchen. But look, big shout out to Kiara. So look, I know someone else was I think they went through a few weeks at the Tesla store of really difficult messaging out to customers who are waiting. But you know, Kiara really thought of what I needed, and that I was going to have to actually get another car in order to tie me over because my current one's dying. And like, she just thought of everything and really pulled out all stops. And basically I got the car in 2 days. Like, she worked overtime. Yeah, they were just brilliant, and she was fantastic.
Yeah, and that's great. That's great to hear. The difficult times, I mean, let's face it, you know, the Shanghai COVID shutdown basically you know, caused everyone to be in disarray, literally complete disarray. It destroyed, because what happens is all the Australian cars are built at the start of the quarter, so they're all built. They would have all been built in April, but of course the Shanghai Gigafactory shut at the end of March, so it meant that the entire batch of cars destined for Australia were not built and could not be shipped. And the factory didn't open for another I think it was at least another 2 weeks later. But the point is that all of those ships have either been reallocated or sailed off or whatever. So the logistics and that, it just sent the entire order process into literal disarray. And I'm sure they'd be looking up their computer system and they just wouldn't know what was going on, because they didn't know when the factory would resume production. In fact, as we heard in tonight's news, they've only resumed 70% of normal production. So they've got this huge backlog, as well as all the future orders. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm sure a lot of the staff there at Tesla would have been pretty stressed out because they would have been in a similar position as you, Shane, without any knowledge and trying to make the best of it. And you look at a computer and one day it says September, one day it says December, because it just doesn't know. It really doesn't.
So sorry, when did you actually order?
December last year, first week of December, and I was killing myself when I heard that people got cars delivered and they ordered in November, and I thought, I've actually waited 2 weeks to think through it. Oh, will I order this? And if I hadn't hesitated, anyway. Yeah.
Look, if this might make you feel a little bit. So, Damo, say that again.
I was just saying that's good. They looked after him, you know, it's awesome.
They really did. Yep. And look, so obviously many other people have missed out. And yeah, I don't know how they ranked who was going to get offers of these used vehicles. They didn't. It sounded to me like they didn't have many demo models to sell, but yeah, it seemed like they had a few, but yeah. And they said that they'd stopped using this car as a demo model for a few weeks anyway, and I could see that from the Sentry and recorded videos that were left on the car. That nothing had been used since March actually, because they weren't giving so many demo rides. They were saying there's no point.
Yeah, absolutely. If it makes you feel any better, last January, I ordered a Model X, and at the time the order page said delivery in March. This was last year. And a few weeks later, basically, they effectively had no date. And in fact, now they still have no date. On the website, they've actually stopped taking orders. And the website did say late 2023.
Wow.
Sorry, late 2022, sorry.
Yeah.
And then it just got suspended. And the news, the word on the street is that it's going to be either at the very end of next year or possibly even later. And that's for a car that was ordered like nearly 18 months ago.
When you ordered that, was your intention to get the refreshed model or just a newer Model X on your own?
We all knew that the factory was shut. So the Gigafactory in Texas, in Fremont, the Fremont factory was closed before Christmas, and was the line was being dismantled so they could do the refresh Model S and X. So when I placed the order, I knew that I was getting the refreshed model because the old one wasn't being produced anymore. They'd stopped building it in December. But basically it won't be delivered probably until either the end of next year, if not later.
And would that be the plaid version?
No, I only ordered the long range. So I didn't order, at the time you could either order the performance or the long range. So I ordered the long range because I didn't, to be honest, the extra, I forget how much it was, $30,000-$40,000 is just not worth it. I don't need the performance of it. At the time I believe the car to do 0 to 100 in 5 seconds or what does yours do, Damon? Is it 4.
I think 4.4 or something.
4.4.
Yeah.
And that's plenty fast enough for me.
I did good getting mine in 2020 then, didn't I?
And Shane, Pete and I can make you feel
at-
better. We waited 3.5 years for ours.
Looking at sales prices of them, I could actually, if I sold mine, get 50K more than what I purchased it for 2.5 years ago. But what vehicle would I go to? I got the best vehicles. I'd be downgrading to anything else. So I might as well keep it because, I can't see myself driving any other vehicle.
Hey, David, why don't you put it up for sale and see if you can snag a Model 3?
Well, do a swap.
Yeah, and order the refresh Model X, and that way you might get the Model 3 to use in between. If you get 50 grand more than you paid for it, that pays for 2/3 of your Model 3.
But it'll be hard to get a Model 3 at the moment too.
I'll sell you my white one when the red one comes.
See if you can try and snag one. Yeah, maybe get chains. It will still be red. It will be performance. You'll love it.
Yeah.
And there's even enough burnt orange PPE on your X you could use to cover the 3 with, Damon.
You're really getting good use out of that joke, aren't you?
Look, it's not a joke. The national broadcaster, it's on TV. It was on a Saturday, the 6th of March, 2021.
That's pretty close to the colour that I resprayed my Cortina back in the early whatevers, and it's
1970s.
Vermilion Fire. It was Vermilion Fire. It was a great colour.
There you go.
When you think about it, Damon, the burnt orange was always meant to be. I can't believe I'm calling it burnt orange because it isn't. We all know it isn't. But if you want to call it burnt orange, it was always meant to be. You said you wanted white. wife wanted red. You put the two together and you roughly get burnt orange. So
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. So now, Shane, since you've just literally gotten your car as in a matter of days, what are all your other pressing questions?
Well, I'm going to take it from Perth to Denmark on Friday afternoon. So I'm a bit lost around charging. So I think so I went past a ChargeFox one near my office today, and I mean I don't know how to talk about it, but it seems to have a double N Menekes cable, and so I don't have that. All I've got is the regular plug-in. Yeah.
So sorry, where are you going to? Pemberton, you said.
Yeah, like
Denmark.
Pemberton, Denmark. Yeah. So
Denmark.
do I need like one of those 2-end Menekes cables? And can I buy one off? Yeah.
Yes,
the
you
club
can.
or
So
something?
yeah, so you won't really need it to go to Denmark,
Right.
because basically, well, one thing too. Have you heard of
Do you have
PlugShare?
PlugShare?
Yeah, right. So I'm signed up to PlugShare. I haven't signed up to the ChargeFox yet, but I went past the ChargeFox branded one today, and I saw that I couldn't plug in my 3-point household plug into that.
No. So where did you go to the ChargeFox one? Where was that?
That was in Armadale in
At the
front of McDonald's.
Yeah. So
Harold, why don't you explain tethered and untethered?
Okay, so if you look at the McDonald's,
that's the one.
This is a Schneider unit, right? And this is basically untethered. So what it means is it hasn't got its own cable. So
that's right. Yeah.
You'll basically at the charger end, you'll see something like this, which you need to then plug something into, which is a Type 2 to Type 2 cable. So
okay, and is that what I'll find all throughout? Where
yeah. So what you do in PlugShare,
like that'll be the thing I'll find anywhere.
Yep. So what you can do in PlugShare.
Shane, I've had my car for 2.5 years. I've done 50,000 Ks in it, and I've used that cable once, and I borrowed it off the club.
Really?
And I went to Esperance last time, so I've only ever used it.
Okay.
So,
and is that because you charge it at home and
most
plugs have been to
all the superchargers, and there's Williams and there's Eaton, and they're all tethered, so you don't need a cable.
Yep.
Most of the RAC ones are tethered, so you don't need a cable. When you get to your destination, you plug it into the wall and half charge it overnight, so you don't need a cable. Just need
so most ones used on the road, they are tethered, aren't they?
in my experience, but PlugShare will tell you that.
it just depends, Shane, where you live and what chargers you're most likely to use. So I've had my Type 2 cable from our plug-in from our Holden Vault, and we use it on that. And I've used it a lot just because the two shopping centres near us both have untethered AC chargers. So it depends. So have a look at PlugShare, have a look at the chargers that you think you're most likely to use, and then you can make an informed decision as to whether it's worthwhile or not.
So these are all the Type 2 locations.
So does that mean that in PlugShare I should search for tethered?
No. So what you do is there's a filter section, and for instance, all I've done now is turn Type 2 on. Everything else is off.
Right.
And these are all the locations in WA that have Type 2. So you can see that.
Then I would need a cable. I'd need that 2 to 2 cable, wouldn't I?
Yes. I've used my cable once in 6 months. Once in 6 months, and that was just to test it.
So that's the Type 2
Or
cable.
one off the club.
Now, if you and you can borrow it from the club for free as a member for road trips. Now, if we change that to Tesla destination charger, which has got a tether, it's got a cable, bit like the ones you would have seen at the Tesla showroom. These are all the locations with Tesla,
Oh,
right? So you've got Bridgetown, you've got Walpole, and you've actually got the Chime Spa Resort in Denmark. Or that is
I
only for
see.
customers. But on the other hand, what's more interesting to you would be either Tesla superchargers or fast DC chargers. And again, you've got the Eaton. Sorry, just down here, you've got the Eaton supercharger.
Yep.
You've got the Treendale Shopping Centre. That's the RAC fast DC charger. You've got Donnybrook and Bridgetown and Pemberton.
Margaret River.
Sorry,
So
you've got
would
the
they
Margaret.
be tethered? Would they?
Yes,
Yep.
these are all tethered. Everything DC. So this is Tesla Fast, which is for DC, and
Yeah.
CCS, which is again fast DC. Because you can see that the CCS is made up of the Type 2, plus it's got the DC pins underneath.
Oh, I see. So if I just search for those, then I don't need a cable.
Well, in fact, on your screen, on your navigate, actually, I think the screen's changed. What's it like on Model 3s? Do you have to go into navigate and then go charging, or is it just the lightning symbol on your map now? Has it gone back to that? Anyone?
I don't know. All I've done is I went to the Karen supercharger.
Oh no, sorry. No, anyone else? So no,
It's
sorry,
the
mate,
lightning
anyone else?
symbol on the map.
Okay, so
Which disappears when you start navigating. So
So Shane, on your map, you'll see a lightning symbol. I think it's near where you've got the Earth, which is for your satellite view or aerial photo view or your map view, and there's a lightning symbol. I think there are 3 lightning bolts. Just make sure that they're all on. There's like a one for single lightning, which is slow charging. There are 2 lightning bolts and 3 bolts. But anyway, just make sure they're all on, and then the car will then tell you where all Tesla's chargers are, and that means Tesla's superchargers at Karrinyup, Eaton, Williams, and Margaret River, and it will also show you and they're in red pins for superchargers, and then it will show you where I think they're grey or black pins, which are the destination chargers, which are the AC slow chargers. But none of those need adapters of any sort. They all work straight away without you needing to bring anything with you.
Brilliant.
So that's what the car is aware of. But then if you use PlugShare, so for instance, this is all the fast DC chargers, then we can add to that the Type 2s, and it starts adding up a little bit. And then if we go Tesla, the map starts filling in even further. So if we just take Type 2 off just for a moment, these are all the locations you can charge at without bringing anything with you.
Hey, Shane, are you south of the river?
I am, yeah. Adderale.
What I was going to say was I'll put my number in the group if you want to send a message. Sorry, Harold. I'm happy to talk about all because I'm out that way as well. I can let you know all the good charges around and stuff if you want, or tell you my charge plan anyway.
Let's do that. That's brilliant. Thanks.
yeah,
no
Shane.
dramas.
Oh, sorry. Shane, in the chat, I popped in the link to the top website, which has information on charging. You may find that useful for filling in some of the gaps that everyone doesn't have a chance to talk about tonight. But the need for a Type 2 to Type 2 depends, as people have said, very much on what you want to do. Some people have had a Type 2, not used it. I've had my Type 2 and used it quite a bit when I travel away from Perth.
Yeah, you have, huh?
Yes.
Because I was always, I basically let my old car run into the ground. It's so old, and so I never go anywhere in it. But now having this, I'll be going back to having road trips all the time. So I expect to be out and about a lot.
Well, Shane, you mentioned you're in
Shane,
Attadale and the Woolworths at
Oh, really?
Reynolds Road
Yeah,
has got a free Type 2. In fact, it's got 4 outlets. So apart from the fact that sometimes it's there are ice holes that choose to park there. There are.
Oh,
So you actually see the cable. There's a cable plugged in here,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
into the car. So, and these are free to use. And this is the Woolies in near Attadale. So I think that might suddenly be your favourite shopping destination,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
even
yeah.
if you just spend 10, 15 minutes there, you'll arrive home with more charge than you left.
Oh,
The
that's brilliant.
super
Sorry,
cheap
Cole.
up the road in Byford, 5 minutes up the road's got 2 HPWCs as well. Tesla charges at 11 kilowatts for free.
Wait, where's
Is that
Damon?
Bicep?
Damo?
In Byford, Harold, the cafe up
Oh yeah,
there.
but Shane's in Attadale, which is here.
But would you know, I work
And-
in Armadale and Bicep.
Armadale is only the Tesla charges are about 5 minutes up the road from him, Harold.
Is that the?
I think they're listed as Hungry Jack's, but there's a cafe there, Hungry Jack's, and I think Super Cheap Auto.
Oh yeah, Hungry Jack's. Beanup Road.
I'm not sure who put them in.
Brilliant.
Oh yes, they are Tesla. Yes, so that's so you don't need an adapter for that at all.
Oh, mate, that's super helpful.
Now,
Yeah,
with the
Shane,
Type
Shane,
2,
one other thing with road.
go
I
on.
was going to say, if he's going to be road tripping a lot, he might want to consider a spare wheel of some sort.
Mm.
If you're
Because
doing
I've got a
road-
performance. I got a performance, and my first tyre, I hit a curb after 5 kilometres and ruptured a tyre on the 20-inch wheels, and straight away I bought some 18s. But I road trip now, but I've got a spare that I take with me and just put in the boot. And the club also has one that you can borrow. And the performance Model 3s don't have the same wheels as the stock as the other ones, so you can't use a normal 18-inch wheel. You have to get one that fits the performance.
Oh, yeah, I'll have to get right. Yeah, do you know, I'm bummed.
But the club
that
does
I've-
have one to take if you want to take it on
Yep.
Friday. The
That's
modern
right. So we
spare,
do
but
have
Harold-
a what's called a modern spare, which is in like a bag with a jack and wheel brace and all that sort of stuff in one kit. It's a skinny spare, and you can borrow that for free for a road trip.
You don't need it in Perth, because if you do get a flat, you just get RS, you get assistance, but you can't do it when you're 200 kilometers away. Just a thought.
Oh, can I
Harold,
give a big thumbs down to Repco? I went in there the other day saying, "Hey, if I buy an air compressor, I'll never have to go to a gas station again." And they got way off track and said, "Oh no, you can't jack up a Tesla. You're going to bust the battery." And I just thought, "Oh, you guys, you're just the worst. You got no idea." So.
Cool. So, so getting back to the Type 2 cable, if you wanted to buy, you can borrow it for free for road trips. But if you wanted to buy it, it's normally $300, but through the club, members get a discount, and it costs $265. So, but again, only buy it if you've got a compelling use. Now, I dare say, if you visit the Woolworths much, that might be handy. But then if you just go to the Hungry Jack's, if that's really handy to do, then you don't need it because you've got a destination charger. So it just depends, there's no rush. There's no need to rush in and buy anything straight away. Just sort of see how you go. And if you think that you've got more opportunistic charging that you can do, that's free. Otherwise, there's not a lot of point paying $265 for something you don't use.
Yeah, all of this together, that sounds like great advice. I think I got a bit freaked out today when I went to that one and another one near a Bunnings in Armadale and saw no cables. And I thought, oh, is that what it is across the state? But I'm hearing that's not the case. I'll get into PlugShare tonight, and that gives me plenty of options. And I'll find from doing road trips whether it's worth me doing it. Thanks so much.
Hey, Harold, it might also be worthwhile just mentioning the difference, especially in price, between the longer, is it the 7 meter versus the shorter Type 2?
Oh, right. So, so this thing's actually a 7.5 meter long cable. So you might see cheaper cables if you sort of Google it or look on eBay or something like that. Also be careful. I forget the gentleman's name, but we had a member that had purchased a Type 2 cable, and it was actually a 16 amp cable instead of a 32 amp cable. Now, it is true that when you're drawing three phase, the car can only draw 16 amps three phase, so it's 11 kilowatts. But he happened to be, and I'm just going to use this to refresh my memory. I think it was Harrisdale. He was at the Harrisdale, Stockland Harrisdale. Now, again, you can see a cable poking out. But for whatever reason, this installation is only single phase. So what it provides is actually 32 amps single phase, which is 7.6 kilowatts, which is still not shabby. You'll get roughly 50 kilometers of range per hour. But this gentleman had purchased a 16 amp three phase Type 2 cable. But of course, it will only pass 16 amps three phase or single phase. So at Harrisdale, where there's 32 amps single phase available, his cable only passes through 16 amps single phase. So it's half the power. So he was a bit disappointed in that. So as Pete was alluding to, that the cables we provide are 7.5 meters long, which means that if the EV bay that you wanted to charge at was iced or occupied, there's a distinct possibility of parking next door in the bay next to it. And depending on which side of the car or which side of the bay you're on, it could even possibly be two bays across and still reach the charger. So that's why we only offer the longer cable because it's the most flexible and useful. And again, that's for $265, and it comes in a carry bag. But you can borrow it for free on road trips as a member. So you don't have to buy it.
And we also are getting a better EV highways around as well.
Yes.
That'd be great.
I really wish I had a producer so that I could just get them to flick the screen up straight away, but I'll do a little bit of peddling in the background. Actually, you might as well ask us your next question, Shane, because no doubt you've got a whole lot more.
Well, who is it that just said now that within a short time they'd already busted a tire? And yeah, yesterday
Richard.
Yes, I'm already bummed. I've scratched one of the nice, what do they call it, Ubertine rims.
They scratch so easy, Shane. Don't feel bad about it, man.
I was thinking, it tells me where the wheels are now. Like, I'm super aware of the width of the car. But yeah, it was, one of those square curbs, and I'm watching the traffic off to the right and scratch it on the back left. And
I've got rim protectors on my rims that Alloy Gator. Highly recommend them. I've had a different brand before this lot, and this is far superior than this other brand. It actually squeezes in between the rim and the tire, wraps around the front lip and protects. There is obvious that it has been touched a curb, and it's completely protected my rim from getting damaged. This is for low speed stuff. Of course, your high speed is not going to help that, but highly recommend Alloy Gator rim protectors. The gentleman that sells them in Perth, very good to deal with.
And about now, Harold plays this is general advice only.
yeah.
The following segment is general in nature and shouldn't be taken as personal professional advice. Listeners should seek their own independent assessment from a qualified advisor and not rely on the general nature of information in this program.
Yes. So it's only general advice. I'm going to struggle to find the new map. So the West Australian government had announced 18 months ago that they're going to do a West Australian electric highway.
Oh yeah, I saw. Yeah, there was some glorious map. Yeah.
I'll be taking off now. Catch you guys later.
All right. Cheers. Take care, Damon.
See you, man.
We'll see you on YouTube, or you'll see us. So they basically promoted it as being a highway from Perth to Kununurra, Perth to Kalgoorlie, and Perth to Esperance. But then in the last week or so, it was announced that they were extending that to effectively Eucla. So I'm
Right.
going to try and find the updated map.
Oh, that's good, because definitely going to Esperance in October or November.
Yes. No, sorry. That won't work because this thing won't be done until towards the end of next year or early 2023 when it's completely finished. Unfortunately.
Adam sent a link to that map on chat.
Oh,
Great.
awesome.
This is
is
better
this the
than I've seen
updated one?
before.
Yes.
I'm going to get going
No, it's
soon
not.
too, but
It's old. I'm going to try and find the newest one. Go, Domo.
just on traveling,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a noob to this as well, Shane. So correct me if I'm wrong, like Harold or Pete. These guys are all pioneers compared to me. But if I was going to go traveling, the biggest thing I'd probably get is a 5-pin at least, or a 3-pin tail for my UMC, the standard charger. So you can go up to 7 kilowatts. That, and is there many 3 and 5 pins on PlugShare, Harold?
Well, yes, but not down south. Let me just bring up PlugShare again.
Quite a common one, Shane. Like if you're in a really stuck, you can pull up to a workshop or something, you know, who's bound to have a 5-pin 3-phase outlet.
That's where I got lost actually in reading the stuff on the club website about the different tails. I thought, that's
easy. It's so easy to get lost. Keep it simple, man, is my advice, because it is really, and listen to people that know. Otherwise, you'll go buying a whole heap of crap you don't even need, eh?
So this is all the 3-phase locations, which are 32 amp 3-phase mostly. But look, down south, you don't need them because Pemberton has fast DC charging. I think Northcliffe actually has Type 2 or Tesla. No, maybe.
Just got to refresh.
Oh, just got to refresh. Unfortunately, this
Bridgetown
computer's going a bit slow.
RAC?
Sorry, say again. Bridgetown has RAC, so that has fast DC charger. Yeah.
So with the ChargeFox you grab, but I highly suggest when you get time to get a card, it's free, and because sometimes the apps don't work and they're a pain. But if you've got a card, you swipe your card and it works.
Okay.
And sometimes you go somewhere where there's no Wi-Fi and you just can't get the app working. So
yeah, get the RFID card. That's very useful.
Yeah, and just keep it in your wallet. And you go there and just swipe it. Simple.
So Shane, a couple of weeks after I got my Model 3 in March of last year, I drove across to Brisbane. And once you leave Merredin, I was on the 5-pin 3-phase outlet going pretty well until you got to Clare. There was 1 or 2 Tesla destination chargers, Siduna, and Port Augusta had 1 each. But apart from that, you're living on with the current state on the 5-pin 3-phase charger. So I've just bought one from the club because when I went to Broome recently as well, once you got past Carnarvon, I was living on the 3-phase as well. So until we get that highway,
doable.
Yeah.
And speaking of that highway, if you look at the right-hand side, I don't think I can actually zoom this in because it's Twitter. But forget the left side. This is the old map. The right side is the new map, which actually shows the Baladernia, Kaiguna, Madura Pass, and Eucla. So again, this will be, let's say in 18 months' time, it'll be complete. And you'll be able to drive all the way from Perth to Kununurra and Perth to Eucla and Kalgoorlie and Esperance, all using fast DC chargers.
Great.
But it's going to take some time.
Until then, and sorry, who was just speaking? Steve. So
Yep.
so I would just find those 5-pin 3-phase through PlugShare, would I? Like find the locations of them?
Yes, you add that to the filter, and I think Harold's about to demonstrate that.
Oops, sorry. So this is just 3-phase. So for instance, let's just go up north. So you've gone past, say, Geraldton, and
You've got 3-pin as well too, but the 5-pin's more
you've
available,
only
isn't it?
got Damo. It's only 5 pins, mate. On 3-phase, it's only 5 pin.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh, yeah,
once
I
you've
see what
gone
you're
past
doing with
Geraldton,
the
because there is
filter.
actually a club fast DC charger that the club has.
I
and
remember
that's-
hearing that
that's
in the
Geraldton.
last
Yep.
video.
So
Yeah.
once you go further north, all of these are basically AC chargers.
Yeah, Nanotera onwards.
Yeah. So
Okay. So what? You
um,
just wait a bit longer and have an extra.
well, your
an
car
extra-
charges at about 80 k's an hour on 3-phase.
Okay.
So you can drive for 3 hours and bash out 300 k's, and then you've got to wait 4 hours or a little bit extra to replenish that range. About
Right.
4.5
Right. Yeah, I can
hours.
see how it's possible, but frustrating.
Yes. And then you make sure you've got enough contingent to get into your overnight, and then you just charge overnight to 100%. So you don't charge your battery to 100% at your midpoint, wherever you stopped. You just add in enough to get you onto your destination.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm the kind of driver that wants to stop and look at everything on the way, but yeah,
You need to-
that wouldn't help.
You need to
If I
stretch
ca-
your legs and get a coffee.
Look,
Great.
in 2 years, it's going to be awesome. In 2 years' time, you can just bash out straight to Karratha in one day if you want, and so on to Broome and then to Kununurra, in 3 days, easy peasy. It's just that doing it right now is a bit harder work.
Yeah. Well, the more we do it, the more people will. Yeah, like already everyone that's seen the car, and I haven't bragged about it, but they just, they
Shane,
they see it and they go, "Wow!" They
I've
want
got a
one
challenge
and they
for
want
you.
to be part of it. Tell me.
The challenge is if you're going to Denmark and you go via Eton,
Yeah.
I would say get to Eton. If you can drink your coffee and be back to the car before it's fully charged, you'd be drinking fast, mate.
I'll let you know. Okay, great.
And the Williams charge is even faster. So
Is it? Because I was thinking of going by Williams. All right, so maybe I'll do one on one way and then the other on the way back.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. Challenge accepted.
In fact, the Williams one, there's also Kojanup, sorry.
Yep.
And I'm just trying to get this map.
Is there a Kojanup one? Because the last time I was in Denmark,
it's not a fast. It's not a
petrol.
supercharger. It's a fast DC charger. It's a 50 kilowatt fast DC charger, which will add 300 kilometers of range in an hour. So in half an hour, it'll add 150 k's. So that's the Kojanup,
then I'll easily get to
Kojanup
Denmark.
one there. So then that's an alternate way to get to Denmark. But what you could do is if you leave Denmark basically fairly fully charged, but bearing in mind that on your performance car you should set the slider to 90% or no greater than 90%.
Yeah, I wondered about that. I heard you mention that to somebody last week, and because all the side read it said 80, and then you guys were saying, 90, don't worry about it.
Oh no, even Elon Musk himself has said 90%. So, and look, my car has done 212,000 kilometers. I think it just ticked over. I'll just check that. It's 212,000 Ks. And no, I tell a lie, it's 211,999. Anyway, and I've always charged it to 90%.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Always.
Great.
And I've taken it to 0%, and I've taken it and I've charged it to 100% on occasion. So what you can do is, in fact, there's actually, if you look on YouTube, I think there's like a playlist which is the pro tips, and there's one to do with charging, and this is set up for people that have got cars that have the other chemistry, which I mentioned last week, which is the NCA, if you
Right.
basically have the word daily and trip on the little tick marks on your charging screen, it means you should charge your car to 90%. If you don't have those words, if you have a standard range Shanghai built Model 3 or Model Y when that comes out, whenever,
Mhm.
you can charge at 100% all day, every day. But in your case,
Really?
Shane, you should charge
Mhm.
at 90% or less regularly.
Right.
And on occasion, you can go to 100, but don't let it fester at 100. So you're going to do a morning
Mm.
trip. What you can do is charge to 90% overnight. And then when you wake up, just move the slider on your phone or go into your car if you want, move it
Oh,
across to
yeah, yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Yep.
It'll then start charging. And in the next half an hour or 3/4 of an hour or nearly an hour that you're having breakfast, getting ready, blah, blah, whatever, then your car will get pretty close to 100%. And like I said, that's actually shown in this little pro tip video that we've got on YouTube. And the best way to do it is just search Tokwa on YouTube, or just go youtube.com/Tokwa, TOCWA, and
Right.
you'll see pro tip videos. But that's what you can do is say, so leave Denmark at say 100%. And in fact, in your performance car, you'll probably make it to Williams anyway. But you can always, it's always great to opportunistically charge. So if you're going to have a little comfort break at Kojonup
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
you might as
Right.
well just plug in, walk across the park, and there's like a public toilet, and you can, whatever, get a coffee or something. And while
Yeah.
you're spending, say, 10, 15 minutes, well, you're putting in 75 Ks of range in 15 minutes. And then
Yeah,
that
right.
means that
Okay.
you'll get to Williams with more buffer, and you won't feel, any range anxiety if, it predicts you're going to have 20% left or something like that. And not that there's anything wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with turning up to your destination with 20% if you go into a supercharger, because it just means your
Just
car will charge quite quickly.
top up opportunistically then.
Yeah, so don't necessarily deliberately top up, but just do it opportunistically, or try and, if you're doing something else useful with your time, then the act of charging then doesn't become a chore, because it's just something that your car is doing while you're doing something else. And then that way it doesn't impinge on your enjoyment of the trip or the car.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah. That's my attitude is, yeah. And not going to gas stations is also part of enjoying having a car. And so, yeah.
Which is why you've got to get
Make-
another EV, Steve, Shane, sorry. So you've just, like I said, work out in your mind whether you want to get another Model 3, in which case it'll take 12 months, so you might as well order it now, or maybe wait for, and see what happens if the Model Y turns up on the order page. But if it does, be ready to act very quickly before it effectively sells out for another 12 months.
Well, I told them to leave my original order on there, so it's still sitting.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Because I said, and then they had to, before they could agree to it, they had to check up the chain of command that would be possible. So I've left my original order sitting there. So I feel like I've got lots of options, as long as I don't get
Yes.
into their bad books, like you mentioned the other week of when people cancel their orders.
Well, that does happen. So you do go into a sin bin and you can't reorder that car for 12 months. Although if it takes 12 months to, well, anyway.
Yeah. It's not much of a
If it takes
penalty.
12 months to arrive, it's not such a great penalty. But what it'll probably mean is you won't be able to order it for another 12 months and then have to
Yeah.
wait another 12 months. So that'll be
Another
24
12
months. But what you could do is, like I said, have no doubt that as soon as the order page for Model Y, whenever that is, opens, the club will tweet it out and we'll put it out on Facebook. So if you follow us on Twitter, which is just at Tesla_WA, we will tweet it out within seconds of the order page opening.
Oh,
Because
really?
we have eyes on it. We have special monitoring, web page monitoring doodads, bots And as soon as that web page that order page opens, we'll tweet it out. But like I said, if you're interested, you've got to get in quickly because it's going to sell out. The Model Y will be much, much bigger than the Model 3. So if anyone thinks that 12 months is a long time to wait for a Model 3, it's going to be longer than that for the Model Y before too long.
Right. I think I want it.
Look up the specs, look at the videos. We're very jealous because I don't think that Nigel, who's a regular, but he's also known as a grumpy old man, or self declared grumpy old man. He's in the UK as we speak. He's landed earlier today, and I'm not sure whether he was going for a test drive today or whether it was tomorrow or
Following day after he landed.
Thursday, so tomorrow.
Yep.
So and he'll be the first person that we know that's test driven a Model Y. So we're all very
Right-hand
jealous.
Model Y too.
Right-hand Model Y, yes.
Yep.
Because the UK have had them since the start of the year, whereas we can't order them yet.
And wasn't there something about different Model 3 configurations being offered in the US and in the UK? Something about what you can do with the seats, or putting in extra seats at the back and not being available in the UK in that setup.
That's Model Y. So Model Y, I'm not sure if it's available in the States yet. Maybe it is. It has got a 7-seat option, but those 7 seats really are children's seats or not too tall teenagers. Like, you know, they're really secondary seats. Unlike, say, for example, the Model X, where full-size adults can fairly comfortably sit in the third row. In the Model Y, which isn't available in markets outside of the US or North America, it is pretty tight. You know, if you really do need the space, then you've just got to wait for a Model X. But, you know, the cost is nearly double.
Or a Cybertruck.
Or a Cybertruck.
I want that. That's what I want.
Yeah, well, you can't even order it now, Shane.
I think I put my order in, and then a week later I heard that they closed it off.
Oh, so you've got an order in?
I do.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, fantastic. Well,
I think I paid what, $150? Yeah. Yeah. Well, $150 in 5 years' time will be nothing. So.
Yes, exactly. Cool. So, have you got any other sort of pressing questions before we get on to other stuff?
Thank you for giving me all this time. And actually, sorry, I have to go and do some work. I'll have to jump off. So
yeah, cool. No worries.
Thank you. That's super helpful. So I'm super confident about this trip. I'm super confident about just getting out and using my car more. Ben and I will chat about Armadale and charging around there. And and I did actually want to get a wrap done before I did a trip and risk stone damage, but I have to go. It's not. Yeah, there's no choice about going. So yeah, I'll just risk it and think about.
Nothing wrong with that. I've just put my number in the chat. So if you have any issues, feel free to call me. Actually, what I should have done is actually put in Tokwa's helpline number, which is 62623131.
And Harold's credit card.
And Harold's credit
card. Look, my car's done 212,000 Ks and it has never been wrapped. And yes, it's got stone chips, but because it's an aluminium skin, none of those chips will ever change or corrode or degrade or anything. They'll just stay the same as the day they were created. So
yeah, great.
Don't feel bad about a road trip and you know, just go and enjoy your car. It's not oil painting, you know.
And that's also my attitude. It's to be used, and it's not meant to stay perfect, bubble wrap forever. Things are going to happen to it, and we're going to have a ball.
Every old bomb used to be a showroom stunner. So, you know.
What a great attitude.
And a respray can cost less than the wrap itself.
Yes, and that's true too. So, yeah. But enjoy your car. That's the main thing. And it's awesome that
I'm stoked.
with a little bit of stress. And look, you've got, Pete, what do you think about the white on white?
I think it's absolutely brilliant. So we've got a black on black Model 3 as well as a white on white Model 3.
Right.
And I much prefer the white seats. So they're actually, surprisingly, they're actually more functional, so more practical. So in terms of, you know, if you spill anything on it and getting marks off, as long as you get to it fairly quickly and you've got a baby wipe on hand, it's pretty straightforward in 90% of the occasions. But the reason why I say it's more practical is in summer on a 40-degree day, if I leave the car out in the sun, and even with the 40-degree cabin overheat protection, and I sit on the black seats, I don't quite burn my legs, but I can almost feel it in the black seat burning, especially if the actual seat's been in the sun. And I've even put on some tinting on the roof as well. But with the Model 3 without tinting, you can leave those seats in on a 45-degree day, and directly in the sun you sit on them, and they'll be warm, but they won't be burning hot ever.
That's brilliant. That's great to know. Oh, and that reminds me of the. Oh, sorry. Go on. Finish.
I know. I was just going to say, and the difference, you can really feel the difference in the cars. So the black car does get a lot warmer inside than the white car.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of a slightly funny thing was, so we've got a dog, and like the whole idea of dog mode is also just another plus for me, and also made me think of, you know, going in the direction of the Tesla, and that's been brilliant. So of course I ordered the pet liner before the car arrived, right? So we got the pet liner like a month ago, and because we're both working from home and I wanted to surprise everyone about the car, when it got delivered, I had to say, no, stay in the house, you're not allowed to look at it. And I had to put because the box is so big, I thought I can't hide it in the shed, I can't hide it anywhere. I had to put it in the roof cavity so that no one would know that we're getting a Tesla delivered or getting a Tesla. There's been lots of logistics to get it and to keep it as a nice surprise. And having the pet liner is magic. The dog can get as dirty as it likes, and I really like the design of the Tesla pet liner. I saw there were other ones online, and I don't know the quality of them, but the white seats are perfect every time I use that pet liner.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right, Shane, well, it's time for you to go and do some work.
It is. I really have to do some work. Thank you so much. That's brilliant. Thanks for your numbers,
pleasure.
and you've got mine.
Welcome back anytime.
Welcome, mate. Anytime.
Much appreciated.
Yes. Alrighty, so has anyone else got any other questions or comments? Any news or whatever that might have happened last week?
I just want to let everyone know I've ordered an LR Model 3 long range, which will be here, I've been told now, between August and October. So I'll have my 3 for sale performance with full FSD, because the buses won't be transferred, of course, probably around August.
If you don't mind me asking, how come you've gone to the LR, man? Because like I've had my performance now since December, and I'm feeling like I should have ordered an LR with the speed boost.
Well, I've had my fun. I've taken it to the DRM once. When I bought it in 2020, there was no power boost on the long range, so I figure that, and I don't like the 20-inch wheels because the bastards are the tires cost too much. So I just thought, you know, if I buy a long range, I'll put the performance boost on it, of course. But with the performance boost on a long range, tinted windows, get it nano coated like I did mine, I'll still have probably $12,000 in my pocket by the time I sell it. So makes a good option.
They ride a lot better too for everyday driving. Hey, the performance is hard on your back, I reckon.
Look, I've got a mate who just got a rear-wheel drive, and to be honest, I don't see a huge difference. I think a lot of it is overstated. I love my car, but I figure if I can get a new one with, you know, heat pump and double glazing and all the cool stuff that they've got now. Why not? Never going to get this opportunity again.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
Mark, would you consider going to a Model Y if it popped up? Like
No, I don't
changing
like
over?
the Model Y.
Oh, okay, cool.
No, it's just not my style. I'd love to have it a little bit higher, but to be honest, I would have gone to an EV6 if they had an app. But you know, Tesla's just got every time I look at something else at the moment in Australia, there's just nothing has all the good stuff that they have. So for the first time in 29 cars, I'm buying the same car twice in a row.
Well, like I've said many times, if someone else makes a better EV, I'll buy it. But
Absolutely.
I just can't see, in all honesty, I just can't see it happening anytime soon. Tesla's, it's not their fault that they're miles in front. It's just that's just what they are.
It'll be fun watching it though, and it'll be certainly fun testing all the new ones out to see.
Absolutely. Excellent. Oh, well, you can just put that up on Car Sales, mate, and or you can put it on our Facebook page. We've actually got a buy and sell. So, but not for vendors, but just for club members.
Yeah, no, I'll do it when I know, because at the moment it's gone from 6 to 9 months to August, and I'm away for September in Europe, so it's going to be real busted if it comes in the middle of September. But I'm hoping, they don't like holding them, but if it comes, say, in mid-September, I'm sure they'll hold it for 2 weeks. So,
well, look, as long as you pay for it, they'll hold it as well, whatever,
no, that's not an issue.
No, it's not, and you could always dribble it into October if you wanted to, or like they could just sell that car to someone else, or deliver it to someone else, and get you the next one on the next ship, if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well, in January, my mate rocked up with his brand new Camaro, supercharged $200,000 Camaro, and I've had my car 2.5 years, and he's never taken any notice of it. And I said, after we had a drive in that, I said, jump in mine. And it's the usual Model 3 thing. You drive out the driveway and he's talking about the stereo and everything. You just floor it. And a week later, he had one as well. So now he's got a Camaro and a Model 3 Performance. He paid 89 plus on roads back in January. And I think that was before they really started to become, before the problems happened with the supply.
Yes, yeah.
And I've got full self-drive. And they had 25K on it. Mine will have 35K. So I reckon I'll probably do quite well out of it. And it's immaculate. It's quite new.
Yep, absolutely. The thing is, once you drive in a performance car, what did your mate say? He's got a Camaro. What's the stats on a Camaro? It's not to 100?
It'd be a bit more because you can't get the power down, but it's a fun car to drive because it's a manual. But he's bought this thing. He drives a Camaro from time to time. He drives a Tesla more. He's got more money than common sense. So he's got a Silverado on order, and he's got a Land Cruiser Sahara that he just bought about 3 months ago, and he's got this, and he's just ordered a truck, and he sponsors the Speedway, so he likes his cars. But he got fitted sheepskins for it, like $2,000 worth of sheepskins for the front. So they look like they came with the car. Not my cup of tea, but very comfortable. But he just said, I drive the Camaro and it's great fun, but I just love driving the Tesla because it's just so quick and so easy to drive fast.
Did he get fluffy dice as well to hang off the review?
Oh, no, but that's the sort of things he'd do. Yeah. He's a bogan. We're all bogans, but some of us grew up.
Oh dear, awesome. That's great, Mark. That's awesome. Cool. So does anyone else got any news or any comments, questions?
Yeah, I have two things. I rang the RAC today after looking at all the secondhand prices. I only took delivery of my Model 3 rear-wheel drive in March, and I had insured it for 70,000. And I rang them up and said I need to insure it for 85 because I'm not going to wait 9 to 12 months to get a new one. And they had to go off and get that approved they could only go up to 78,000 without getting approval. But 5 minutes later, and asking me, "Oh, has the car had its first service yet?" I just laughed at them. I said, no, Teslas don't have scheduled servicing. I've just had to do that because, and someone obviously looked at the web and saw all the prices that are going, which it's going a little bit silly. The second thing I wanted to raise is I know on the website there was mention about tow bars, and TowLink in Wangara seemed to be the thing. But when I looked at the website again, it looked like there was no mention of tow bars. So I just wanted to double check, is that still the place to go to? Has anyone done it? Were they happy? Were they not happy?
Pete?
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, sorry, tow bars.
Tow bar model.
Oh, yes.
Wangara.
It's TowLink in Wangara is who I went to. If you're a Tokwa member, you'll get
5%, I think we worked out. Joe told us. Yeah.
5%. Thanks, Steve. They were really good. It's a stealth tow bar. So the way it actually hooks in is an L shape, and so the hitch, you actually push up from underneath, and then you essentially have the hitch there. But you can take it out, and if you take it out, you can't tell from behind whether you have a tow bar or not. So it's quite good that way. I think it's rated to is it 750 or a
1,000 kgs now, and TowLink will put the compliance sticker in your car as well. So
That's not on a performance though.
no, I'm in the long range. I'm in the long range.
It is on my performance, and it should be on yours, Richard, as well.
Because I've got 18-inch wheels. Yeah.
Because of the 18-inch wheels. Yeah.
Yeah, my main interest is just for putting the bike rack on, because I 2 months before I ordered the Tesla, I actually picked up 2 e-bikes for when I drive down south and we want to do some riding around there. So
yeah.
Okay, well, Pete probably was about to say that you have 2 connections. One is the square hitch, your Heyman Reese style, and the other one, which is the gooseneck, is the tow ball. So you interchange whichever one you need for that particular occasion.
I don't think that's the case. The L place, the drop L is the Reese, the square Reese, and then you put whatever you want to in. So,
Not for me, mate.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yep. Now I have it's a like a cone and clicks up.
Yeah.
And so it comes out the Heyman Reese, or it goes up for the tow ball, but they are 2 separate connections.
Yeah, right. Cool.
My ex has got the same, which is a Tesla thing. I think it's Bosal make it, and I think the Stealth is basically a clone of that sort of system, because you have a quarter turn. It's like a quarter turn for key
to release it.
Yeah.
Yep. And you got the locking pin to. Do you have a locking pin? So yes, just to make sure that it doesn't.
No, I've got a key. It's a key lock.
So it goes click, and then you push the pin in, and you need the key to release it. Yep.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Adam, you mentioned service with the RAC. I mean, my cars, if it was an ICE car, would have had 14 services by now. And imagine the cost of that. Especially if it was an ICE car with, major service at 100,000, where you might change a timing belt, because they're like a rubbery whatever canvas or whatever it is belt that for the camshaft that needs to be changed. Otherwise, your pistons will slap into the valves if it snaps. So imagine 14 services that I've avoided having to pay for.
Can I suggest also, Harold, that if you had a performance car to match the EVs, then it's going to be a turbo, which means it gets serviced every 5,000 kilometers or so, because that's what my Evo was up for. So yes.
Good point.
So I don't even know what 3 times 14 is. That's beyond my little maths. A lot.
Something like
It's
42,
about
but
42, yeah.
the answer is 42.
Meaning of
That was
life.
the answer.
I can know that number.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I
dear.
just sold my Forester this week that which I bought brand new in 2019, and that had 4 services, and the last one was $800
Yeah.
because it was nearing 50,000. So yeah, it was all part of my plan and all the research I'd done. It worked out all my budgets. That's why last week I showed my tightwad dashboard with the zero fees
Yes,
for charging.
that's right. You got the awesome dashboards. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fantastic. Cool. So has anyone else got any other questions, comments, or news or whatever? Oh, actually, obviously the Power Play go-karts, that's a sellout event. That's this Sunday. But obviously anyone else that isn't participating is welcome to spectate and just join in on as a casual meetup, basically. So what I'll probably do is send an email out tomorrow spruiking it as a casual meetup as well. But we've basically got 48 participants that will be driving around, running around in the go-karts. So that should be an awesome day this coming Sunday from 3 p.m. to 6:30.
I think I'd rather be there, Harold, than down in Margaret River at granddaughter's birthday party she's 3 years old with 10 others. I'm taking my noise cancelling headphones.
And your N95 mask, I hope.
Oh yeah. And then I still might sit out in the car and watch Netflix.
Well, if we could live stream it somehow onto YouTube, you could watch the action. Actually, you better not dare us to do that, because otherwise we'll have to work out how to make that happen. I'm sure it's possible. But yeah, it's a little easier to get you. But
Well, apparently she's going through a screaming phase, so that's going to be so enjoyable.
oh well, yeah. It is what it is.
So enjoy the go-kart.
Yeah, thanks. But yes, that's a sellout event. I will also send an email out just to the people that booked. Obviously, if anyone has to cancel because of the big C or they've got a spicy cough, we'll refund the money. But more importantly, allow someone else to use that ticket and enjoy the day. So yeah, so I'll reiterate what I just said before, interrupting myself. Anyone else got any questions, comments, news?
I have a question for Pete.
Yes, Pete's all ears.
What's happened? Go ahead.
Sorry, Carmen, you broke up.
What's happened to Bitcoin?
Nothing. It's traveling fairly well, isn't it?
It's worth a
No,
bit.
it's all everyone's selling.
Yeah.
Well, the smart people are buying, from what I've heard.
Yes,
You
I
better
did.
press that not advised button, by the way, Harold. But what is it? 31,000 or something?
Yeah, I think it's at a bit of a discount.
Yeah,
It has
I bought
tanked
a
off
little
a bit.
bit to try it out, but I don't know much about it.
Yeah, just buy and hold. It's all good, as long as it's not too much.
It's you get 2 for the price of 1 now. So
Yes.
50% off. So
A bit like Tesla shares, Carmen. If you'd bought it
I know.
at $628, this morning it closed at $758.20 something cents.
I know. Neither Tesla or ARK are doing terribly well.
Oh, well, but Tesla's gone up 7% in one day the other day.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's, hindsight Harry says that was a wonderful time to buy. Now, I spotted Ant Day, and I'm going to give him a Dorothy Dixer. So Ant, have you got any good news to share?
Funny you should say that, Harold.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So my news is good news, as always. And that is that following on from the Ravensthorpe and Lake Grace charges, that as an EV community, we installed and transported in a carbon-free manner behind your X. Somebody from Denmark had phoned me up just after Ravensthorpe and said, how about a charger in Denmark, because we've been left off the state map, and we're not, and maybe just because we're all hippies down here or whatever, but were keen on getting one, and there's a bunch of them down there. There's 19 owners who got together for a sort of a mini EV community meeting last week. Thanks for that. Yes, so Denmark's off that map, off most
Denmark's,
maps.
just for reference, is basically between Walpole and Albany, just in here.
Yep. And it has not got the best of supplies, but we have sourced and I'm not going to out them right now, but basically a generous businessman in Perth has sourced a free charger for us. In fact, it won't be free. It'll be on a $0 5-year lease. But that's just semantics. The charger will be installed fairly soon. Although there's an application in the current venue that is outlined has got a 30 kilowatt or 30 kVA supply to it already, and they'll be, I'm pretty certain we'll be up and running within about 3 months, or maybe even less. So here's hoping we can get everything smooth. Denmarkshire is well on board. The CEO is very supportive, and they've already had a meeting, although they were only told on Friday. They've had a meeting with the wind farm founder or several of the founders and a couple of the councillors, and they're all raring to go. Very keen community down there, and soon we'll have, although it'll be throttled like Ravensthorpe for the initial period, soon we'll have a tritium V-fill ready to go in Denmark.
Don't forget,
Awesome.
Ant, that
That's fabulous news.
The state government's has committed, I think it's up to $10 million, or is it 10 or 20, to contribute towards the installation of EV chargers, EV chargers basically. And I wonder if that might qualify, because obviously the councils are not for profit, or it's a small organisation, to pay for the network augmentation fee that Western Power will no doubt generously levy on upping the power to 50 kilowatts, perhaps.
Yeah, almost certainly. They'll be working on that. They've got all the paperwork all lined up. They're keen as mustard seeds, really. They've got the application to Western Power to upgrade, which might well cost a pretty penny. The venue is next to the second IGA, the smaller IGA in the town. It's at a place called Norm Thornton Park. Let me just make sure of that. Yep, that's right. Norm Thornton Park. There's a parking area. If you go, and if you want to show people, it's on the should be on Google Maps, and you should be able to see a street view.
Okay,
it's just
sorry,
there where the river curves.
Yeah, okay, I'll just do that. Oops, I just had to open up a new web page.
Sure. Yeah, so there seems to be a phone booth there, one of those real outdated pieces of technology, and a little gazebo next to the river, and so you'll be able to charge your car, go over the road to the very characterful IGA. Actually, it's not
Okay,
like the other.
so can you guide me left, right,
Ah, the
cursor?
corner of Hollings
Is it
Road and North Road. No, Hollings Road and North Street, I think it is. Norm Thornton. Look up Norm Thornton.
Hollings Road. Oh yes, and Norm.
Thornton. Now, Norm Thornton is the park. Thornton Park. The other road
Oh,
is
yes,
North.
yes, got it.
yep.
Norm Thornton. Here we go. So, and it's Holling. Sorry, that's Horsley.
Yeah, so
Hollings
just
Road. Yep.
opposite that junction.
Oh,
It's a
IGA
T-junction.
Express. Here we go. So,
Yeah, so just opposite that, there's a
we just
parking
go
area.
Google Maps. There we go.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
where the public toilets are.
Yeah.
Somewhere along
Perfect
here.
spot.
Fantastic.
So probably the second parking lot from the left as you approach it.
So somewhere
That's
like
probably
this.
where they want to put it. I don't know if that's the perfect spot, but it's better than in the other possible venue in town, which is near the other IGA, which is too busy. I think that spot next to the river would be ideal.
Fantastic.
Mm.
That's awesome news, Ant, and it's sort of out of the blue, but highly welcome. And the great thing is that this will precede the EV electric highway. So
yeah, that certainly will, and it'll be one of those venues where there was never going to be a charger. So
yes,
the wind farm proponents, the wind farm founders who actually have a wind farm in Mount Barker and Denmark, have been stashing aside some money for it as well, and have wanted charging for a long time. And the only thing they've got in Denmark right now is a 15 amp socket next to the Shire offices, which I've spent a few hours at last time we were down there just for fun, as one does. So yeah, it's good news for the South Coast and good news for EV drivers.
absolutely. It is great, and it's funny you mentioned wind farms because I don't know if you noticed a retweet, or actually it was a reply to the World of Statistics by Elon Musk, and in it they basically show the top 15 countries by installed wind power in megawatts, and China has 329,000. The
Wow.
US is less than half that, and Australia has a paltry not even 9,000 megawatt
Yeah,
hours.
and none of those offshore either.
No.
So Australia's are only onshore, which is just, I mean, yeah, it's well overdue to have offshore wind farms in Australia.
Absolutely.
Isn't there some offshore off Tasmania? I think there's some down there.
If there are, then I stand corrected. But as far as I'm aware, there's hardly
I think
any.
they're off the north coast because I was down there and I was sure they were out to sea, but I'm not certain of that. But they certainly look to be out to me.
So near Devonport sort of area?
A bit east of that, I'd say.
A Launceston type or?
Launceston. Yeah, as far as I knew, there weren't any offshore, but if there are, then that's fine.
I wouldn't swear to it, but I think there are some there.
Obviously, offshore is the best because we've got no obstructions for the wind.
Yeah, it's steady. There's no disruption. Offshore
absolutely.
wind farm, Australia. Let's see if I can be proven wrong.
Hey guys, I can confirm there's nothing offshore in Tassie, unfortunately, not yet.
Oh, okay. My mistake.
Oh, Chuck, welcome back.
Yeah, I've just been in the background here.
Yeah, cool. And of course, Chuck is coming to us from the future. Although it's not quite tomorrow yet, but it's closer for him than it is for us.
Yeah.
Coming from the cold future down in Tassie.
It is quite cold. We can tell by look at me here. You know.
There's an island off there, Chuck, because there was certainly some big turbines down there, but I was standing on what I thought was the North Shore, but maybe I was looking at something different.
There are something in
there are
Melbourne.
two big wind farms, one in the northwest, one in the northeast, but they're both onshore.
Oh, okay.
Website says the South is going to be Australia's first offshore wind project, south coast of Gippsland.
Yeah.
So Australia's been really lax in installing offshore wind, but it'll come sooner or later. Now that the government has changed, it'll more likely be sooner rather than later.
I think Renew Economy has a sort of a guide to offshore wind in Australia, as in all the proposals and all the statuses and so on. There's quite a few in WA as well, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chuck, did you pick up on that? What I just said about Denmark? Since you're always ear to the ground in terms of charges, so I've beat you. Have I beaten you to the?
Yeah, I was kind of half listening in while I was doing stuff, but yeah, I'll have to add that to my map.
Yeah. Yeah, give us a few weeks to iron that out. This is a preview of the information, but we're pretty certain we'll get it in within the next 3 months.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll keep it quiet until you make an official announcement.
Yeah.
As quiet as it can be kept with 142 subscribers on YouTube, and
oh, that's right, it'll go viral soon.
It could just go viral.
You heard it here first.
Absolutely. This we always intend to break the news, and if we can't break it, we'll just make it. And sometimes we have to make it up, but still, then we just fake it till you make it.
Yeah, break like the wind farm. Sorry.
But the good thing is, it may actually be transported rather than in a trailer towed by an X. It might actually be hung off the back of an X, as was the Jurien Bay charger and the Geraldton one. So that'll be pretty cool.
I reckon, Harold, though, you should mount it horizontally so that it looks, then you could make it your X into an airplane. It'd have a tail rudder. You just need some wings and.
Well, I've got a tail
with
fin.
the wings up.
Well, I've got the fin, so it's stabilizing it to go straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you want to take off.
No, you want downforce, Ant. You want it sort of. Well, I guess it depends. If you lift the back, you're pushing the front down, but it's all good.
Teasing.
It's
Yeah.
Oh dear.
As it happened, I just happened to look on, just happened to refresh Facebook, and there's a link on the 9 News Perth page that WA's police force is trialling a new breed of patrol cars in an Australian.
Oh God.
And it's
a Toyota Mirai and a Hyundai Ioniq 5.
Mirai.
Isn't the Mirai? Isn't that a hydrogen?
Hydrogen. It's hydrogen. It's going to be based in Fremantle. They're both on trial because nobody ever does anything properly. They always do it on trial. The Mirai will be based in Fremantle, and we'll probably have to fill up in Welshpool, where the only hydrogen filling station, albeit portable, is. It's just insane, and it's probably almost certainly that filling station will be gas.
Blue gas, blue hydrogen.
Yeah, exactly. It's just insane. I don't know why they did that. There was also a little while ago, the Freo City Council was being sort of touted as a trial place for some Mirais for their council cars. I'm kind of glad that one sunk without a trace. I don't understand what their motivation is, spending money on kitting out. Well, I'm sure Toyota chucked some coin in, but I don't understand it at all. In order to do their patrols, they're gonna have to go via Welshpool every couple of days.
I dare say it's really to do with the traditional fuel providing companies that want to continue relevance. As long as they can shift a liquid or an energy source in tankers or something similar. I mean, what was it that the Petroleum
APPA
Retailers Association said? Something along the lines of we don't care if we have to sell baby pandas or something, into fuel tanks. We don't care what the product is as long as we can provide that service.
Yeah.
Which
as long
is just
as
outrageous.
make money on it, you don't care who it harms and how much, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that hydrogen's in-out efficiency, round trip efficiency, is less than 30%, whereas a battery electric vehicle is close to 90%.
Yeah.
You know, so even if renewables were super cheap, you're still wasting 3 times the amount. It just doesn't make sense. And the
If
other dangers.
If they're doing an honest trial and they're comparing the two, I mean, the Ioniq 5 will win out every single time.
It has to.
But it's not an honest trial. It'll be it's just because they're being you know, it's the motor manufacturers trying to get their foot in the door, and they won't. I don't think they'll fill out the fleets very quickly. Otherwise, they would have just done it. I mean, there's no need for a trial, to be honest.
Well, it's like those Joondalup buses that are being trialled, even though China. What's the numbers of buses in China?
1.5 million. 1.5 million electric buses in China.
Thank you, Pete. Yeah.
You know,
the Chinese don't trial stuff; they just do.
About the police, me and my missus went through an RBT last week, and they had a Kia Stinger there. And I said to the cop, I said, "Oh, how do they go like compared to the Falcons and the Commodores?" He goes, "Oh, they go good. They're better than the Falcon Commodores." He goes, "But I wish we were getting these," like pointing to my car, and said, "But it looks like we're getting Hyundais."
Ah, right. So they would have they heard up front.
Ioniq
the
5s.
Ioniq, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, they couldn't. They're also very, very scarce. You know, they were sold out in 6 minutes.
Yes.
Their latest batch.
Yeah,
You're just allowed in 6 minutes when you offer up 100.
Exactly. They're very, very few. They're not serious about selling them here because, well, maybe with the change of government, maybe with a few more emission targets and emission reduction rules, maybe with some more incentives, maybe without FBT, maybe Hyundai will start allocating more for us.
What is the price for an Ioniq 6?
It's about $83,000 for the dual motor.
So it's out of the FBT commitment, and it's out
I think the rear-wheel drive is just within. I think it's a similar price to the rear-wheel drive Tesla, the Model 3.
Yeah, the rear-wheel drive's 79 drive away.
Mm.
Oh,
So
okay.
it'd just fall in.
Yes, for fringe benefits tax, but it's exempt from the excise because we have a FTA with Korea. So there's no excise, but you do get the fringe benefits tax, which is great if you want to do a salary package car or a novated lease. Actually, you don't even do that. You just get it as a company car.
From what I hear, that the incoming Labour government is going to hit get rid of the FBT for electric cars. That's the latest that I just saw this evening. You would have had that on your news.
That was limited to the LCT threshold. So the car has to be below the efficient vehicles LCT threshold, which is 79,600 and something, whatever it is.
So the Ioniq 5, the rear-wheel drive gets it, but not the all-wheel drive, and the Tesla Model 3 standard range rear-wheel drive gets it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And I think the long range might get it in some trims.
Might just get it because prior to on-road costs, it might just squeak in.
Yes, because it's the wholesale price plus GST, which is the price that you see on Tesla's website before on-roads. You've just got to add $1,250 or $1,350 for delivery, and the $350 order fee.
Right.
And then that's the base cost. Same as applies for the state government that's promised the 10,000 lots of $3,500 rebates for EVs.
Interestingly, I know quite a few people who for whom that was a trigger to put in an order for whatever car. I know quite a few. There were quite a few Konas and quite a few Kia e-Niros or Niro EVs on the still sitting around waiting to be purchased, and now they've been snapped up.
Oh, you mean they were in stock? They were actually available?
Yeah, demos and just on showroom, Konas in particular.
Yeah, look, I've said this several times. Given that a petrol Kona, well, I've bought a petrol Kona a couple of years ago for $25,000, and what's the price of a new? Well, what's today's price on a new e-Kona?
63 or something.
It's such a big difference.
It is a big difference. It is a different spec. I mean, the Kona is
true. Yes.
Is a so I'd equate it more with a 30. I think it's a 32,000. Is their top of the
Highlander.
Was a not even the Highlander, but the optioned up, because they also have an Elite in the petrol, I think. I haven't actually looked at it to be honest, but it is true that it's almost double what the petrol one is.
And that's
what I like about it is the fact that I can buy relatively cheap accessories, but I do recognize that the Tesla has no comparison. There's no petrol Tesla, thank goodness, or one in the US, I believe. But the Kona has that petrol equivalent, so you can say, oh, it's double the price.
Yeah, it's just such a shame. And you question whether Hyundai really, well, what are they all in on EVs, or is it them just
hedging? They were hedging with hydrogen, but I think that's kind of reaching the end game now. I don't think they can be serious about it anymore, given how EVs have BEVs have taken off.
Yeah, Japan's basically the only place because the hydrogen stations are all over the shop. I just noted that the 2022 to 23 LCT threshold is a smidge under 85,000 for next tax year.
Oh, they've increased it.
Yeah, 84,916.
Wow.
It shouldn't be there at all. It's a joke.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's something that is I've been told is a prerequisite for any free trade agreement with the EU, is that the LCT must be removed. And that's one of the biggest proponents of that was Germany in particular, that they said it is that's a precondition for the acceptance of an FTA with the EU is for Australia to drop its LCT.
So not all vehicles or just EVs?
All vehicles.
It's a dinosaur from when we had an industry.
Exactly, and we haven't had an industry for several years. So what? But that's the problem. Taxes are sticky. It's easy to it's easy to put a new tax on. It's hard to get it removed.
Well, I complained to the state government about the stamp duty, and they said, "Well, what do we replace it with?" Well, it's been replaced with the GST, but they're just money grabbers.
Indeed.
We pay the GST, and it's the stamp duty. I can't remember; it's a bit more or a bit less than the GST.
In fact,
go ahead. Oh, sorry. That South Australia has now removed their, or they're promising to remove their RUC, which is interesting because they were, I think, the first proponents of it. They weren't the first implementers of it. I think that ignominy was left to Victoria to do, but South Australia had promised one. The previous Liberal National Government had promised an RUC, and now the incoming Labor government there has said no RUC.
Sorry, what's an
RUC? Road user charge.
Road use charge, a 2.5 cents.
Oh,
yeah.
So they're promising to get rid of it because if I recall, the map that I had on a couple of weeks ago showed South Australia in orange as well as WA, New
Also
South
Orange,
Wales and Queensland.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
sure.
because they were also bringing it in by 2026, I
5.
think. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Or is it,
Yes,
sorry,
sir.
2027? It's in 5 years' time.
Yeah, but South Australia was going to be, because they said 5 years time last year.
Right.
So it would have been 2026 when they brought it in, I believe. But now the Peter Malinauskas, the new
Yes.
premier, actually said that they will remove the road user charge law.
Well, that's great. I mean, it's just, well, it's one small benefit that EVs have, or it's trying to
Yeah.
balance the externalities that aren't being accounted for with all the fossil fueled cars that are damaging the
Yeah.
environment, whereas EVs aren't.
If there is one, it's going to be it should be applied to all cars, and it should be initially applied to fossil fuel cars, as it is now. I mean, the essentially the fuel levy is a road user charge, albeit sort of applied via the fuel. It's still essentially charging for distance, because the amount of fuel you burn is roughly equivalent to the distance you travel.
Yeah, and I guess you could almost argue it's slightly progressive in that you get more benefit from buying a newer, more fuel efficient car because you pay less for petrol or buy less petrol. But still, really, the fuel excise should be converted to a carbon tax, and perhaps a road user charge ought to be universal across all vehicles, so that then there is that. Then you've got the equalisation of environmental damage of fossil fueled vehicles paying more over and above all vehicles.
Yeah, and it should be at a federal level as well, and not at a state level. I mean, the state really were money grabbing with these road user charges. They're it's a charge that the fuel levy never went to them. It went to central government, and it was hypothecated. Oh, sorry. What is when something is hypothecated? It means it actually is allocated to its use, or it's put into general coffers. Pete would probably know better.
I don't.
It goes into consolidated revenue, but it's notionally for the purpose of
Notionally.
notionally. But I think the biggest problem that the states have with it is that federal governments love doing tied grants. So, I think one of the former governments pledged to match funding, or 50-50 funding for the Tonkin Highway extension. If that's what I think it was. No, sorry, Roe Highway, Roe 8.
Yes.
But it was tied funding only to that project. So the feds can sort of pick and choose how they want to allocate funds, which may be in synchrony or at odds with the state government. So state governments hate being told what to do with the money that the feds give them. So really by seeking their own road user charge, they get to play with the money as they see fit.
I still don't understand why it's not just applied through your rego though, just based on weight and an average of what that vehicles would do a year. I mean, I know it's not perfect, but it's just the cost and the complexity of trying to work out what everyone's done and excluding off-road and on the track and in other states. It's just, to me, it just seems, just put the whatever it is, $500, $1,000 on no, don't get me wrong, I don't want to pay more rego, but I'd much rather pay it on an average of 20,000 Ks a year, which would be $500, than I would with a faffy system of having to submit your Ks and take pictures and drama.
Yeah, not only that, but some of the anomalies that happen, such as if you travel out of your state, the money is going to the state, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
I know. Well, it
So
does
you're
if you're the
damaging,
state that wants to
you're
more
damaging the
money.
other state's road, and then that
Yeah,
your home
exactly.
state is getting the benefit.
So I can tell you now that just about every backpacker car in Australia is registered to the Perth YHA, because mine definitely was, because you don't need any roadworthy every year, as long as, even if you transfer it, you keep going. So because believe me, I
tell
use
me
that.
one backpacker car that is roadworthy, Richard.
Mine certainly wasn't great.
Which one was that?
Yeah.
Not your Tesla.
Oh, I had no. I had a.
You had an Audi before or something.
No, God no. No, I had it was a 92 Nissan Terrano grey import from
right.
New Zealand, I think, or Japan. And yeah, I did a whole lap of Australia pretty much in that. Melbourne, Tasmania, yeah, all up East Coast along the top, round to Perth, and then
You
did
didn't-
Perth to. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say you weren't driving a white van selling speakers out the back. Yeah.
No, that was the UK. Where I did used to have a white Ford Transit and a white Ford Escort because I am from Essex.
But you didn't sell. Oh yeah, you're from Essex, so you would have been selling speakers or whatever out the back. Of the
and buried ice to people that own fancy cars in Australia.
Right.
There's nothing
Actually,
wrong with
I saw a car going down the freeway today. It was just your classic. I forget exactly what the make was, but it had those like blue lights, you know.
Oh yeah.
Red and the blue lights along the shining on the road, and you know the exhaust sounded like it was sounded like popcorn. You know.
Oh, it takes me home. Although Harold, it didn't have one thing that you did mention earlier, which is a timing belt, because it was direct drive. So it was one less thing to break down on me in the middle of the Northern Territory.
Yes. Yes. But I mean, isn't that crazy? There are cars that some cars where you can't take out the last spark plug without dropping the engine or something, so they just put in platinum plugs, so they're good for 100,000 Ks or something like that. Or they've got timing belts that wear, and they don't have the valve recesses in the top of the piston. So
yeah.
If
Oh
the
yeah,
belt
yeah,
snaps, it's all over.
Yeah.
You just
I think,
destroy your engine.
Yeah, I think if you had like an old 8-valve car or something, you might be all right. But 16-valve ones, the particular one that I had, wasn't. Yeah. So anyway, my point on this tangent was that all the backpacker cars being registered in Perth and paying WA rego, but never being driven in WA.
And wouldn't we love to buy our Teslas out of the ACT?
Well, quite. Well, look, I bought mine in Victoria, and then immediately drove it in Tasmania, and the rego ran out when I was in Queensland. So, it was. I don't think it had been to WA for most of its years. So a state-based road user charge just would be difficult and painful and fraught with difficulty. So it's just logistics.
It's coming, and I dare say Premier. Sorry, what was Mal Manauskas?
Peter Malinowskis.
Malinowskis. Yeah, something like that. He's on the same side as the McGowan government, but it was the McGowan government that actually introduced a road user charge. So I do dare say that a future Liberal government, if ever that comes to pass in WA, will flag it through. So
or they could see the error of their ways and follow South Australia.
Or they could apply it to ICE cars too, and say to the feds, well, don't bother with your tied grants. We'll just collect our own road user charge. Thanks.
It is interesting though, because I think a lot of these governments are thinking, well, they've got to have some kind of stick as well as the carrot. The carrot being the $3,500 or whatever we're getting and the various incentives. So we've got to hit them with a stick, and that's the road user charge, and that'll keep their voters, the majority of petrol owners, happy because that's the first thing that they saw. All the newspapers were saying, new EV tax. They weren't looking at the other stuff. So it
No, but I think it was right to call that out straight off the bat, because it's the biggest disincentive, even just for the faff of it. Is like, well, life's easy if I just stick with what I know. So yeah, it's one good sign that the media did call something out.
Well, they called it out, but for a different reason. They called it out, just to say, oh, look, those entitled EV drivers are not getting their comeuppance,
which is, actually, I didn't obviously look at it like that, but yeah, I guess I only heard that it had been publicised, but not that aspect of it, that angle.
But 5 years is a long time.
I will be writing to my local member.
Yes.
And saying get rid of this ridiculous nonsense, both federal and local. So, and we'll see.
And the other thing is, which is a fairly good strategy, and often works, is to target the opposition and say, here's this thing that I think is unfair, and get them to raise it. And by the time they get into government again, which in the WA Liberal case might be 2030, but they might well think differently. The only parliamentarian that's ever attended an AVA meeting is Libby Metten.
Davies. Oh, sorry, Libby Metten. Sorry,
yeah, who was in opposition at the time, and you never know what could eventuate. Although, hang on, did she? Yeah, I can't remember if she was one of the ones who lost a seat. No, I think she stayed on. I think her and
yes, she has.
David Honey.
David Honey. Yeah.
Yeah, the doctor from Cottesloe.
Well, you say that a decade's a long time. You can see this image here.
Yes.
With the one horseless carriage, and this was in 1900.
Profound, isn't it?
And then, whoops! Oh, why isn't that working? And then in 1913, okay, albeit that's 13 years later, out of a sea of horseless carriages, there's the one. There's the one horse.
Yeah, I wonder if they applied a horse poo tax. A straw tax.
And isn't
only
that
per
funny?
kilometre?
Because no one is alive that's ever experienced that properly. The putrefaction of the streets, because
we now do to our atmosphere.
Exactly. Imagine all of these. This is just continuous traffic. There'd be so much horse shit. It's just not funny. And nothing you can do about it, because that's what that's just what horses do.
Imagine that. There must have been quite an industry around clearing it up. Putting it on the garden and whatnot.
Yeah, or just putting it. I don't know where they. Well, again, all that knowledge is gone, isn't it? It's almost stuff that you wouldn't bother as a historian to document, because it's kind of a menial task. It
was shitty, but it had some use, unlike what's spewing out of exhaust pipes worldwide, which is causing destruction.
The only thing that's sort of ironic now is, the great promise of EVs was their silence. I mean, apart from their lack of emissions, was their silence. But of course, that's now being undermined by cars with their audio alerts, and they have
what's the situation with that? Do they have to have them now?
Not in Australia yet, as I understand, because none of the cars that are here have it turned on.
Sorry.
Go out, because you can tell us which models do actually, because there are some in Australia that do make the noise.
That's right. Yeah, the Kona has a VESS, but it can be switched off, but only for every drive. So when you turn on the car, it comes on. It sounds like a weird kind of Star Trek noise. It comes, and often when I turn up and pick somebody up, they say, "Hang on, what noise is that? Why is your car making that weird noise?" So but there are very few. The Hyundais do it. The Leaf makes a kind of a whistling sound. I'm not sure about the Kia does as well. It's got exactly the same noise as the Kona. But the Tesla obviously makes no noise whatsoever. Apart from that, when the handbrake comes on.
But actually, Ant, a couple of weeks ago, or was it last week? I had a video about the Bluetooth hack. Where they can do the relay man in the middle hack, and they actually demonstrated it in a video, and it was a model. I think it was a Model Y or maybe a Model 3, and it had that pedestrian warning noise, and it was the worst moaning noise. It was like this. It was terrible.
Yeah.
I'll try.
Meant to be irritating.
Well, it's got to be.
I still think it'll only be
multiple frequencies to have that sort of. I think there's regulations in America where they state it has to sort of have a mixed frequency, be similar to an internal combustion engine, sort of, but it can be slightly different and have certain octaves of.
The Porsche's got a noise that sounds a bit like a car, but kind of not a car you'd want to drive.
I still think all of this will only be transitory. Like once a lot of the cars on the road actually are electric, it'll be so annoying that I think eventually they'll just get rid of it.
Most new cars now are so quiet. The petrol ones, not all the diesels, the petrol ones, you cannot hear them. So
yeah, exactly. So they just say, okay, we'll make it the same sound as this new petrol car then.
Which makes no noise.
And the hybrids are exempt.
And
so the Camrys, which often the hybrids, which for the initial taking off, are on electric. So they're almost.
And there are thousands of them. There are hundreds of thousands of them, and they haven't made a fuss about it. But the minute a BEV comes along,
because we all know why.
Yeah. But it's only different on the freeway, because in the car park it's exactly the same noise as a hybrid, as Harold says.
Most of them turn
I mean,
off
the other day I was at the traffic lights next to a Camry, or I can't remember what it was, but yeah, it pulled off at roughly the same speed as me. I was in the Leaf, it just occurred to me, that's an electric car, apart from its stupid self-charging nonsense. It's got roughly the same acceleration away from the lights, and in the car park it's exactly the same. So why the fuss about BEVs?
Absolutely. In fact, I have found this video, and I am going to hopefully get it. Here we go. This might work. Right.
Over the week.
Oh God. Oh, that's just awful. That's a Y, isn't it?
That's a Y, and that's in the States, I believe. Interestingly, it was only in reverse that you could sort of hear it. When it went forwards, it stopped, which is interesting. But it's like this old
warning.
Yes. Like you'd expect to hear in the Jetsons almost. This it's a ghostly sort of whining noise.
Yeah, I often turn off the Konas because it does annoy me. It's an annoying noise.
And the MG, I believe, does it as well. I think so. That's got a noise. That's in Australia as standard, but I presume that's because of international homologation. So they've just decided to leave that on.
I haven't heard the MG's one. Yeah.
Or
Come past me. Maybe
the MG, or is it the Mini? Or the E-Mini.
I don't know. I'll have to ask Florian.
But it's
Yeah, there was
just
actually a chap who, funny enough, who won. There was a Mini that was on raffle around the state. I think it was one of those big like MSWA raffles or something like that. And a guy just in my next street won it. And so I called him up and I just said hello, and I noticed that he was selling it on car sales like within a month of winning it. And I said, no, you're not interested in it. No, I've got enough cars. He was clearly not an EV, interested in EVs whatsoever. He just saw the he saw the $60,000 or whatever he could get for it as a bit of a windfall.
whether he's got too much money to pay for petrol or more than enough money to pay for all the petrol he's using.
I tried to do that, try to say to him politely, but he didn't see the logic in it at all. Obviously,
I actually met a lady at RAC headquarters in an EQC that she had won in a lottery, and
really?
it was really interesting because I actually got to meet someone who had zero prior knowledge of anything to do with EVs because she had literally won it out of the blue unexpectedly. So she wasn't interested in EVs. She had no prior interest. But it was interesting to see how she was wading through the rigmarole of working out where you can charge your car, where you can drive it, and all that.
Was she fairly recently in the
Yes.
car? Oh wow.
Yeah, it was only a few weeks ago that I saw her at RAC headquarters. It might have been a couple.
And what did she think? What was she positive about it? Did she
she
like
was
the
going to
idea?
sell it straight away. She presumed that she would just sell it to get the money, but then ended up liking it.
It's interesting because it's $140,000, not to be sniffed at.
Yes.
The EQA is actually surprisingly cheap. It's around the $80,000 mark, which is quite. I was quite shocked. I saw one also at the RSC. The Rego was like 1X or something, and I chatted to the owner. He said, "Oh, it's my wife's car. She doesn't like to go and charge it. We live in an apartment block, and she got it. It's her company car, and he gets to go and charge it. He has to go and sit at the RAC and charge it every week. So that's his chore.
In fact, I think it's the EQA and the Mini something SE that they are the only two cars that will benefit from Labor's, the new government's EV exemption for import tariff, because obviously the EQA is built in Germany, and the Mini SE, Cooper SE, is built in the UK. All of the other cars, EVs, are built in an FTA country such as Thailand, Korea, the US, China.
Which have an agreement.
Which have zero tariffs.
Free trade agreement.
Yep. But the EQA, and of course, under the new government's commitment is zero tariff, provided the car is below the LCT threshold, which, sorry, I forget who it was that just mentioned. So was that you, Adam? Yeah, Adam mentioned that has now increased to $84,000, which is actually a step in the right direction. But it does set a ceiling to the number of cars that policy practically affects.
Yeah, well, looking forward to seeing more. I just wish that that Labor hadn't got a clear majority, because then the Greens and the Teals might have been able to push them into more change. But the Greens still have the balance of power in the Senate, but it would have been much more effective as a lower house balance of power. Still.
Yeah, but I dare say the Greens aren't. Well, I was going to be unkind and say shit in their own nest, but I mean they have done it before. But I think. But they're not going to. They're going to pass anything that moves in the right direction. Although they'll probably try and
Depends. They'll look for amendments.
amend it. They'll try and amend it, but the amendments will get shot down by the government and
I
the
don't
opposition.
know actually. Labor's sounding quite conciliatory. You know, they're not being too silly about it. Unlike Rudd was very unconciliatory around the CPRS. You know, which was only 5%. Putrid. You know, not even close to.
So for the benefit of YouTubers, what's CPRS?
Carbon price regulatory signal or something along those lines was a.
It was one of about 5 different carbon price schemes that we tried and failed to implement.
Yes, and the gripe amongst some is that the Greens didn't want
carbon pollution reduction.
Thank you.
Got it.
Thank you. Reduction scheme. That's it.
Nice work, Pete.
Yeah, Google it, mate. Which I think was one of the better
Adam
quotes
Band,
of the
yes.
Adam Band said it. A very, very good quote. Basically
But
shutting down journalism.
what was great about I was watching it live when he replied to that question, but then that answer, it was a good 5-minute long answer. He actually knew the answer, and he did actually mention it towards the end, but he gave the reporter a big lecture on gotcha questions. One of the best answers in the whole election campaign.
I think so too. The thing was, at the time, I think Rudd was offering a 5% emission reduction through the CPRS, and the Greens said, "Oh, you know, let's talk about this." And Rudd said, "No, we're not talking about it." And basically, it was shot down in flames, and that was it. But then I think what a lot of people miss is that, you know, a few years later, Julia Gillard and the Greens and the Independents, Tony Windsor and Rob, what's his name?
Shot.
Did actually manage to get a carbon price through, which worked. So that CPRS thing was essentially a historical footnote, really. And the Greens and Labor did manage to get a negotiation in place and put in an effective carbon price. And I hope they'll get somewhere near that soon, because I even though Chris Bowen has said he's you know, it's not really, they're going to implement their 43% emission reduction
by 2030, isn't it?
Yeah, by 2030. He did say that things might move, so he left the door open for some argy-bargy, but both the Teals want 60% and the Greens want 75%, I think it is. So maybe they'll come to some sort of agreement. They're certainly that's a lot better than the Liberals. But in terms of EVs, I mean, they're moving on the EV thing quite quickly. I think. I don't think they're going to hang around. And the Greens, I think the Greens will wave through what they want.
Yeah. Although ironically, at this stage of the market, it's almost a little bit late, you know, this movement, because demand is outstripping supply for the foreseeable future. So the real gains would have been made, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, perhaps.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not 5, because cars were still far too expensive. But let's call it 3 years ago, there might have been some real gains. But
yeah, and you know, you can see it in other countries which moved quicker. Norway, even the US. And there's far better market penetration, but you know, Australia will get there.
But Norway is amazing. And they've got, and you know, when people say that EVs will wreck the power grid, Norway has actually a pretty crappy grid. It's got a lot of disadvantages to it, and yet they've worked out how to energize an absolute mass of EVs.
Yeah, and not a problem. I think probably more through smart, you know, charging and charging time incentives off peak tariffs and the like. Speaking of which, I haven't actually keep on meaning to look at the EV tariff again. Sorry to bring up that old chestnut, but I'm wondering if it's worth it, because every now and again I do charge overnight, and just thinking whether the EV tariff on top of my existing home one tariff is worth it.
I think it is.
Have you got the A1 tariff, Ant?
It's a very old. It's a grandfathered tariff now. Home one, I think it's called.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one, but you might, in that case, you might want to do your figures, because I'm on one of those grandfathered tariffs as well. I'm on a home smart power.
Oh yeah,
something.
SM1. SM1.
It's a grand.
Yeah.
SM1. Yeah. Smart power one. So you're on the same one as me. And
Yeah.
I did the figures, and I worked out I'm better off remaining on that old tariff than going on the EV. It might be different for you. So depending on, your figures, use of power and how much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I drive 3 or 4 times a week. I drive about 150 k's a day. So it might work out for me. I don't know, but I'll have to work it out.
Well, on that SM1, I think you're only paying about 15 cents between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. 7 days a week. So that's cheaper than the A1 tariff, the EV tariff, which you only get for 5 hours between 11 and 5. 11 and 4.
Okay. And what is the EV tariff now? Do you know?
It's about 20.
Yeah. 21? Sorry?
20.1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, 15 cents obviously better.
No, 20, 20.4 there.
20
It must have gone up.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're probably about 25% better off on that. Yeah, SM1.
All right, I'll stay with it then. That's the nice thing about those tariffs, is they're not abolishing them. That you can stay with them as long as you like.
I heard not the EV tariff, because they've
no, I mean the SM1.
Yeah, the SM1, but yeah, the EV tariff, they called a trial to get around, having to grandfather it. But I heard Energy Policy WA saying, or Western Power, one of the two, that they're looking at trialling more EV tariffs, mainly middle of the day tariffs.
Yeah.
In a couple of months. So my answer to this is, we've got, there's all these different tariffs at all different prices and times, and why don't you just give consumers and you can do it on the NEM over East, you just can't do it in WA, but why don't you just give consumers access to the wholesale market with a markup? And that way, there's your price signal for anything you need, and there'd be thousands of people that would configure their solar systems and their power walls and their batteries to take advantage of the high prices or the low prices. And, you'd let the market do all the heavy lifting for you instead of mucking around, changing tariffs all the time. And,
So go, Pete. So go.
So instead of having, and then you've got to think of all the unintended consequences, and you've got to trial it because you don't know how the market's going to react to it, blah, blah. Why don't you just give, it doesn't have to be compulsory, don't do it for everyone, just as an option, just as an opt-in, let them just have access to the balancing market plus a small margin. And, it's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but the reason why Energy Policy WA doesn't want it is because they would put them out of a job. Because what they do.
And the thing is, it solves so many problems because it becomes an automatic stabilizer. When the price is low, you you'll have an algorithm on your car or your charger that will just suck that juice and do what it's supposed to do, which is draw it when it's cheap because you want to get rid of it. And then it will literally 5 minutes later or 10 minutes later, if the price goes beyond the threshold, stop charging, which again, when energy is scarce, it fixes the problem. It's a perfect solution because EVs are perfect optional loads. Like they don't need to be charged at any one particular time, as long as within a certain 24-hour period they've got, well, the average of 38 kilometres of range added.
Yeah, it's interesting that because a lot of people say, "Oh, what?" When I tell them I charge with my solar, the first thing they say is, "Oh, the solar on the car roof." No, that's the solar on my home roof. But then they say, "Well, what happens when it rains? What happens when you've got a couple of cloudy days?" And with cars that have got bigger batteries, of course, that doesn't matter at all, not one jot, because you've got a longer range. So in the Kona, for example, 500 k's of range could last me at least a week, even if I do, 300 for a couple of over a couple of nights. You're going to get
this was my
sun
argument.
sometimes.
But this is my argument for having big batteries in your cars, because then
It's a buffer,
you could go for a week and not need to recharge, and then you opportunistically charge off of excess solar when there is a day. But
yeah, I've still got to optimize that myself, because I know so many people have got Zappies, and I need to get something like a Zappy.
I'm not sure if you heard about this Recharge HQ. So it's
Yes, I
a
have
software
actually.
solution.
It's actually
Yeah,
right.
they're doing
it's actually Jay. Jay, I forget his surname. In Adelaide, is who wrote that.
No.
Yeah, no, that's the
Premier. Sorry,
that's the Premier, the ex-Premier. It's not Jay Asper, who's also a Tesla driver. It's Jay. I forget. Anyway, he wrote it, but he hasn't been very communicative of late. I've tried to get the essentially, because I didn't buy a Fronius inverter. I've kind of missed out, because anybody with a Fronius inverter and a Tesla is in the pound seats for that, because his API, he natively talks to the Fronius API.
Yep.
I've got a good
as well, I think.
It's pretty workplace.
And an SMA, it works with an SMA as well, doesn't it?
Yes, that's right. So he's got the top ones in there, the Fronius and the SMA, but he hasn't got a good Wii, which is, it's probably as well. But I have written to the API before, so I've been wanting to modify Charge HQ, or to write a plugin for Charge HQ to enable it for myself, but I haven't been able to communicate with him, because he's probably got a day job and he's doing this Charge HQ thing as a side gig for fun, and he's probably been a bit overwhelmed by people being interested in it.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it just shows that with a little bit of smarts, your car can all of the regulators dream of vehicle to grid, because they see that as their great hope of fixing everyone's problems. But as we all know, it doesn't make a lot of sense exercising charge cycles through a rather expensive battery on wheels.
Exactly.
It's much more efficient to do that on a stationary battery that can weigh any amount of kilos. You don't need to have low mass, high energy density. You can have a big, fat, heavy, whatever.
Yeah, a lot of people are still running great big banks of lead acid batteries that do the job fine. Admittedly, the Powerwall and its ilk have better management, software management, which is its advantage. In the same way as the car, the Tesla, the ability of the Tesla to be controlled via an API is what sets it apart for this sort of a job. because I've got, with the other cars, I wouldn't be able to manage their charging with even with Charge HQ, unless I had an EVSE that was controllable. And while there's rumors that the latest generation 3 HPWC has an API, it's certainly not documented, and it's
Not available.
people who are toying with it are still at at the beginning stages of being able to control it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so I think at the moment Charge HQ would be pretty successful with Afronius or SMA and with the Tesla, but nothing else. And if I want to control,
sorry, that was my misinformation. It's not actually SMA that's compatible with, it's Solar Edge. I was getting the two mixed up. Yeah.
All right.
So Solar Edge and SunGrow are the only three.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure
but I've
he'll,
got other-
when he's got a bit of time, he'll add that on the rest.
So sorry, I'm just a bit confused as to what it does.
Oh, so it's
So basically what a Zappy does. Yeah, so if you've got excess solar, allows you to basically put it into your car.
But I stopped using that feature on the Solar Edge inverter because it's never worked right. So I just use it as scheduling. So are you talking about another third-party API?
It is a third-party piece of software which talks to some inverters and the Tesla API to talk to the car to tell it whether what current to use to charge at or not to charge at all. So it'll talk to your Solar Edge inverter and it'll say, right, you're exporting right now, so I'll grab some of that and I'll chuck it at the car.
So
Zappy does.
Well, so this could be the great irony then. Because I bought when I had the solar installed, it's the solar inverter with a car charger. It's one and the same unit, but it's never. I actually wish I'd just got a Zappy separately from the inverter, but it's never really worked properly, and I've just given up on it. I just use it for scheduled charging overnight.
Right.
So Richard, when you say it's not working properly, what do you mean? Is it that it wasn't working well, like it was a bit lossy, or was it?
So what it would do is when so it would engage correctly. So when there wasn't, I think it's above 1.5 kilowatts on the single phase.
6 amps single phase, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So it would start charging the car, but it would never stop. The solar would stop. Sorry, the sun would go down.
Yep.
Or it would drop below the below that 1.6 kilowatt excess.
Yep.
And it would never ever stop. And what would happen is it would just drain battery into the evening, and then we'd start drawing grid power when it's 55 cents a kilowatt hour.
Now when you say battery, you mean Powerwall, or do you mean?
Sorry, yes, it would drain the Powerwall.
Yeah, and the reason is because it doesn't know what to do with the Powerwall, and
So Solar Edge say that they just see it as a load. And I called them out and said that's bullshit, because your one device is in charge of what solar is coming in and what power it's saying to the car. And I even said what your software team needs to do is say, write a line of code that says if solar generation excess equals less than what is going into car, then stop charging.
I learned this the hard way when I was programming my own EVSE and with a battery system, and what would happen is you'd go past midday where there's plenty of surplus, but then the amount of solar generation peters off. But what your inverter does, your car, because when the system's working properly, there's no energy leaving the house or entering the house for that matter. It's just neutral, and there might be 5 or 3 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever kilowatts going into your car, But what happens is, because the EVSE is not integrally connected to the battery system or the inverter and battery system, as the sun rolls over, the inverter just goes, well, I need to provide this much load because I want to try and have nothing going to the grid and nothing coming in from the grid. It starts drawing from the battery as the sun goes down or goes down a little bit, or in the afternoon. So what happens is, in the end, you just drain your battery, your storage battery. So the way you need to solve it, and the way that SolarEdge or whoever needs to solve it, is you need to always pull in. The EVSE needs to look at the grid meter or the boundary meter, the smart meter, and go, I always want to make sure that there's energy coming in, because an inverter will never, when it's discharging its battery, will never, you need to always look for energy coming in, because an inverter will never export energy from its battery.
So the CT clamp from the SolarEdge inverter goes down the conduit into the gateway, so it can see what's being exported. It knows what's being exported or imported. It knows everything.
Right, but when it sees a little bit of it's
SolarEdge being dicks, like typically, as is their reputation.
It took me a while. Go ahead.
Have you perhaps had them upgrade their firmware on the inverter?
No, they said I need to. They said the car just sees it as a load, and they said, I need to move the current terminal clamps to the tail of the export at the meter, not in the gateway.
When you say in the gateway, do you mean on the house side of the gateway? Because it needs to be at the actual grid side of the gateway. It needs to be.
It's on the export. It's on on the tails going out. So that's why I call bullshit on it, because I'm like, well, it's all it does is it goes. Well, probably easier if I just actually show you.
Show and tell.
I know. Isn't that exciting? I won't go too far because the Wi-Fi signal is crap. Oh, hang on, I do need to turn the blur off though. Okay, we have a Holly.
Oh yeah, I forgot you got one now.
Yeah, it's very cool. So yes,
go, Richard.
Yeah,
actually, I'll spotlight you so we can see better. Sorry about that. There we go.
Okay, so in the center of the screen is the inverter, and then you've got the isolator on there, and then you've got the charger lead, which is just going up there to a little holster that I jerry rigged there, so that then I can just, and it's on a bungee, so that I can just put it into the car. So what happens though? Get over focus. So you can't see it from there, obviously, but there's a pair of wires that goes down just on the top of the. You see, there's a little Tesla semi on top of the power wall. So so there's hot wires that go through and up and into here, and that's where the energy meter and the CT clamps are in the gateway. So that inverter knows what is being exported out to the grid, and all it does is it just goes to the switchboard and then to the meter and then to the outside world. So it's not doing anything. It's not doing anything fancy. But I'm thinking, like, if I can use that bit of software and just put another. I've actually got a single phase and a 3-phase destination charger. I've got both of them. I was thinking if I could just mount that single phase one up there or somewhere, and then use that bit of software, then I can use that Type 2 to charge the bike. And then I can use the.
It won't work, Richard, because it relies on the API. It relies on the fact that that computer program can talk to the Tesla and externally adjust the
car
current that the
but-
car is drawing, irrespective of what the EVSE is offering. The EVSE actually doesn't play any role whatsoever. It's literally it's reading from the SMA API. Sorry, SolarEdge, or whichever one it is. API.
What it might work is that the Gen 2 Desto will act just like a dumb charger. I mean, you could put any brick charger,
any EVSE at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. So it doesn't have to be a. So I'm just saying I've got a couple of spare chargers which don't need to be smart, but if I understand it correctly, the API will have both my Tesla's login and the SolarEdge inverter, and it will then marry the two because it can control the amps through the Tesla API.
And it won't be won't be perfectly efficient because if you look at the login page for those inverters, the refresh rate is quite slow. It's a bit laggy. So it won't be perfectly efficient like a dedicated, like a Zappi or similar setup, but it's more than good enough.
Because I've actually got to the point where, because I've now got two EVs, and I'm just using the 1.4 kilowatt charger, that the AC charger that the bike comes with, but it's just a bit of a faff, and it's plugging it into just a 10 amp socket. So it would actually be quite nice to have a, that holster, the SolarEdge one, even if it's not using its inbuilt solar excess. I would just use that for overnight charging, for scheduled charging. But then the car, which is often here, because Emmy mostly has it now, and that's here during the day, if I can use that API with the Tesla destination charger, then I also solved the problem that I gave up on. It's only a little thing, but when you press the little button on the Tesla handle and it opens the port, well, it doesn't work obviously with the SolarEdge one, because there isn't a button that gives that frequency. So
but you can buy
this could be the answer to all of my dreams.
But you can buy a transmitter that does that. So
tell me about that. Tell me about that.
I gave up in the end.
Oh, you can, because it's standard 433.92 megahertz, and you just need the right format transmitter, and it'll just because literally in the head of the handle of a Tesla HPWC or destination charger or the UMC is a little UHF transmitter, and it's just got a serial number that is different for each one. And people have done that. You can buy them all over the place.
I did actually give up because I couldn't find one where I could buy it, unless you know where.
Well, and to be honest, I did do a quick search the other day, and I couldn't find it either. But I know they're out there. They absolutely are out there. Now, getting back to, I actually said the wrong thing. What I said was that the problem is the inverter needs to make it work. The EVSE, or the bit that's charging a car, always needs to show, say, 100 watts leaving the house, because when the sun is up and it's shining and there's surplus energy, so let's just say in the morning your power wall is a bit low because it's been providing energy all night, so it wants to charge itself up. So in doing so, your inverter is the power wall is grabbing everything that the inverter is producing and storing it, or it's storing the surplus that hasn't gone to your house. So let's say your inverter's producing 3 kilowatts, your house is consuming 1 kilowatt, and there's 2 kilowatts going out to the grid. Your power wall will instinctively grab that and keep it for itself to charge itself up, and there'll be zero energy leaving the house and zero entering the house. So your car charger should do nothing because there's no surplus. Now, the way you make the car charger work properly is, let's say there's 2 kilowatts leaving the house, like going into the grid. The car charger grabs it and diverts it to the car. But because you've got a battery storage system, it should always allow 100 watts to leave the house.
Oh, okay.
And the only
Yeah,
time
okay.
100 watts would
I
leave
see.
the house is if there's surplus solar. If the sun starts going down,
Yeah.
and your inverter goes, oh, I haven't got enough energy from my panels to provide that load, it'll start consuming energy from the battery. But because it's a smart meter, it'll never export energy to the grid.
Yes.
It'll only ever provide what the house needs. So rather than having 100 watts surplus going out to the grid, it'll go to zero. So the car charger, as soon as it sees it go to zero, it should go, oh, that's not 100 watts. I'll reduce how much I'm offering to the car to make sure I can see 100 watts leaving the house.
Yeah.
And what happens is, as it ramps down and down and down, once it gets past that 6 amp threshold, it'll just cut off. So,
and that's
so
the problem in mine that isn't doing it. It's not cutting it off.
And that's how they can solve it, is always set themselves up to leave 100 watts going into the grid. And
okay.
Yes, it's not quite efficient. You don't quite grab that last 100 watts, but the 100 watts guarantees that in the morning, when the sun's going up and there's plenty of energy, there's always a little bit extra you give to the grid, because you don't care what's happening to the battery. The Powerwall will grab whatever it can off the inverter to have nothing leave the grid, or nothing leave the house. But as soon as the Powerwall's full, it'll just go, well, I can't take it, and it just pours into the grid. But it's that 100-watt little bit of loss. It's like
that'd be a compromise I'd be more than happy to live with.
Yeah, and you can try and like skinny it up to like 50 watts, but inverters they only have refresh rates of about a second, so they sort of wander around a little bit. They sort of hunt around. So and I learned that the hard way when I was designing my UPSC, that you don't need to worry about what the state of the battery is. You don't need to talk to you don't need an API to talk to the Powerwall. Just look at what's leaving the house. If there's stuff leaving the house, it means it's surplus, and you can divert it to your car.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, but yeah, look, maybe this program could be useful, Richard. But you'd have to then set your Solar Edge. Sorry, is it Solar Edge? Yeah, Solar Edge.
Yeah.
Car charger to just full rate. You just say whatever. There's an override to just
and then
and then it'll still work. Sorry,
what was it called again?
Recharge.
So say that again. I didn't hear that clearly.
Charge HQ. So charge and HQ as in short for headquarters. They've got a beta test at the moment that you can sign up for.
Okay, so it's not on the App Store,
and it works with Solar Edge and Fronius and SunGrow at the moment. So
it's not a phone app, Richard. It's like a server that you've got to log into.
Oh right, okay. All right, well that would
it's like a cloud service where you've got to present them, I presume, with your Fronius or Solar Edge or whatever API.
Yep.
Credentials, login credentials, and your Tesla. Pete, is it your email address and password, or is it a login key? I forget what you call that.
Either or.
Oh, a token. Oh, yeah.
Either or. You can either use a token or or put your credentials in.
Yeah, I'm on the website now. That's cool.
The frustration is Tesla could do this in like a weekend.
Oh, pissing me off.
And they could have a list of every inverter known to man and those that aren't known to man, and be compatible and rule the world.
It's weird. Does anyone else not think this is weird? It's such low-hanging fruit. It's like I've got a Tesla car and a connector if I install it, and a Powerwall. It's like what? It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
But it makes me think that there's a reason, but I can't think of one. Oh, why?
They're just too busy.
They're too busy.
They're
Too
putting
busy
out
doing-
fires. Imagine having to redesign entire circuit boards because one chip is low on supply, and we're only talking 1 million chips or 1.5 million chips, or sometimes if it's duplicated, there's twice as many or 3 or 4 times as many. But for want of one chip, you can't produce a whole car, so you've got to then redesign.
Yeah, but then they're putting so much effort into like bringing out games and stuff. It's like, well, I don't know. I'm not buying that either, because. But I get your point. Obviously, the allocation of resources maybe within Tesla is not.
Then the funny thing is they've got so many resources now. Well, sorry, they've got so many. Like, money's not the issue. As far as R&D is concerned, they can't spend their R&D money fast enough. Was it Gary Black that said into 2026 they're going to have $64 billion of surplus free cash flow.
Free cash.
That's over and above tax, over and above everything. It's just like money in the bank. It's just ridiculous. It's just mind-blowing.
I think someone's just asked a question on here. Back to charging. Does Tesla equipment support OCPP?
No.
I don't know what that is.
No, it doesn't, Peter. No. So OCPP stands for Open Charge Point Protocol. So that's the means of which, for instance, ChargeFox talks to a charger. So they have a server, and when you plug an OCPP charger into your car, what basically happens is actually it can happen before or after you've plugged it into your car, but you need to present a credential such as a MyFair card or whatever, and then it goes via the internet to a central server and says, oh yes, this is a known account, and you've tied your credit card to like a ChargeFox account or whatever, and then it'll tell the charger to start charging, whether or not you've plugged it in. So you can either badge your card and then plug in, or you can plug in and nothing. Like if you just go to a Tritium, plug it in, nothing happens until you badge your card, because the Tritium is waiting for a command to start charging, and it won't get that until you've given it your credentials. It passes it on to the central server, which is the OCPP server. The server says, yes, this person's good for the money, start charging, and then asks it, how much have you put in so far? How much, every now and then, every 30 seconds or minute or whatever, it'll poll it, the charging station, or the station will just report how many kilowatt hours it's delivered, just in case, for instance, the power gets turned off, or someone cuts the cable, or they yank or they just tell it to stop charging. It updates the central station of how much you've used through this internet protocol, and at the end of the charging session, it'll bill you, or at least it'll bill you because the station knows what the charger delivered. So that's called OCPP. But Tesla's destination chargers and obviously their superchargers don't do that, because the superchargers have their own system. And the destination chargers are, even though Tesla gets, in the third generation, the ones you can buy now, Tesla's actually offered to collect money from people using it at a destination. So they've actually said that they will release a means for which a hotel or whatever can collect money from people using the charging service, which is a bit like supercharger. It's like a slow version of a supercharger. You plug in, and your Tesla account will get charged out to whatever you've used.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how non-Teslas charge at the superchargers. In fact, with their you know, when they start opening them up, you'd obviously have to have a Tesla account, but
Oh yes. So
because you,
so,
yeah, sorry.
so all you need is a Tesla app. So it's exactly this. I believe it's exactly the same app, except it's you don't own a Tesla. So you'll establish a My Tesla account with an email address and password, but it'll be one that doesn't have a Tesla attached to it, and then that's the means by which you initiate charging.
And I wonder, because at the moment it shows the car charging and how much is going into the car, but the supercharger will probably not be able to talk to the car. Well, it might be able to talk to the car in the same way that a tritium does.
Oh yes,
now.
absolutely.
So
Because it has to do standard CCS, so it will know the battery percentage, and it knows it knows how much energy it's putting into the battery at that time into the car. What it won't know is necessarily the battery curve, the charge profile, so it won't be able to predict with huge
How long it'll
accuracy how long it's going to take. But within a margin of error, it could possibly give you a bit of an estimate. To be honest, none of us know because you can't do it in Australia yet.
Yeah, Karen
Although
up
it's
will be
coming.
interesting. Karen up will be interesting. The amount of cars charging.
Well, Karen Up's great because, frustratingly, as we all know, EV owners are tight. You know, if there's a free charge, like you go to Karen Up Supercharger, there are 6 250 kilowatt stalls, and they're all empty. And then there are 2 Model 3s sitting on the free slow charging EVSEs.
Yeah, that's true.
So if
Because
you're a
it's
Kona,
what 58 cents per kilowatt hour now. Karen up.
yes, yeah, yep. So, it's a little bit like Paul Keating said famously at a CHOGM Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, which is the old, state premiers and Commonwealth meeting. No, sorry, it wasn't CHOGM. It was whatever the meeting's called, where you got all the premiers and the Prime Minister meeting. Never get between a premier and a bag of money. Well, never get between an EV owner and free juice.
Free
because
charging. Yeah.
They'll, how many people waste an hour of their time to save $10 or less in electricity cost? Is your hourly rate worth that?
No.
If you're retired and you're going to watch a YouTube video anyway, well, perhaps. But if you're not retired and you've got better things to do, or you should have better things to do, well, does it make sense?
Yeah.
Does it make sense to buy a $100,000 car to get so-called free fuel when you could buy a $10,000 clunker, and it would never absorb 90k worth of fuel in its lifetime.
Yeah, it really isn't worth your time unless you intended to watch a video while charging it. And also, I don't.
Yeah.
Chargers aren't the greatest of places to sit at anyway.
Well,
It's cheaper. It's cheaper to sit in your driveway and plug in.
Yes, unless you're like Stockland, where they have a policy of having free charging as a carbon offset and social, corporate responsibility and social responsibility or whatever. But all of those things get stung by the tragedy of the commons, where these days you go to those free charges and they're always chockers with a multitude of Model 3s and others in line waiting.
Yes, white Model 3s. Anyway, I'm going to be saying goodbye and
no worries,
Ant.
Well, that news was awesome that you gave us earlier. So that was fantastic with Denmark coming online. Well, in the next few
Yeah,
months.
yeah, and
Well, thanks for that.
I'll one of the guys is going down there on the weekend to go and sort of photograph the site, and we've got to plan the layout and make sure it doesn't happen. They don't Dunsborough it. Got to make sure we don't do that.
Yes, let's not do that. Yeah, absolutely. But oh, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll get the crew back. On the voyage or the pilgrimage to Denmark. That'll be fantastic.
Yeah, and I must just mention there that a few of those owners have said that there's accommodation down there for when we assemble a crew to go down there. I think we might actually have less work to do. We might just be commissioning it effectively, because the council's actually going to be putting in the work to put the slab down and drill the holes and blah blah blah. So there might be far less for us to do, but we will certainly transport it, because that's what we do now.
well, someone that you know quite well, being yours truly, loves a day trip of 1,000 k's. I mean, frustratingly, Denmark would be much less than that. So it's just
you
a
might have
doddle.
to add an extra leg off to Albany just to make it worth your while, because you'd have to go. You'd go via Williams Coach and up Mount Barker down to directly to Denmark from Mount Barker. And actually, by the way, that's a beautiful road. That cut across, I highly recommend it.
Yep, absolutely. Excellent. Well, thanks
for
joining us, Ant. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, fantastic news.
See ya. Bye.
No worries.
Good
Alrighty,
night.
so we're getting a little bit late. Oh, we're almost getting Carmen. It's 10:38 Perth time. So a good night to you. I trust your cars are going good. Everything's good.
Yeah, no.
In Tesla land.
Yes, everything's going quite well. I've got a ticket to go to Europe.
Fantastic.
So I'm waiting for Nigel to come back.
Oh, look, Nigel's making us very jealous driving around in a Model Y.
Yeah.
It's going to be terrible.
Yes.
So when are you going, Carmen?
July.
Fantastic. And Spain, I trust?
Yeah. Yes, that'll be the base. And then I'll move around. Yeah.
So
nice looking forward to that.
Yeah, fantastic.
I saw that, yes, might have to go to Scandinavia in August. It's a bit too hot in Spain in August. I heard this morning that there were 1.1 million passports waiting to be. I've got mine, but it looks like I'm not the only one leaving.
I remember, I think I know my Austrian passport has expired. I think my Australian one's okay. But yeah, you're right. I think it was going to be 3 weeks or 6 weeks. And then someone said, oh, no, it's more like 3 months these days, because I've had an absolute inundation of people
are paying $300 to have them fast-tracked.
Yes. Yep. And I did that.
Which is another little business, I think.
Well, I did that for my kids for complex reasons. With their mother, they were going to go to Bali, and their passports didn't have 6 months validity. They were expiring in less than 6 months. So I actually managed to get them passports within 24 hours. So they couldn't catch the flight that day. They caught the next flight. So that proves that passports are printed in Perth, but you do pay the expedite fee. And I had to get photos. I had to literally, within very little notice. In fact, it was actually done later that afternoon, because they were going to fly out on a let's call it 7 o'clock, Monday night or whatever, and they couldn't. So I think it was about 9 a.m. the next day. I went to the passport office with photos, with new applications or renewal applications, and they had those passports ready by about 3:30 that afternoon. So it was done in less than a day. So it can be done.
Money talks.
But well, yeah, and but obviously, you know, everyone let their passports go. They couldn't fly, and now you can fly everywhere nearly, except for Japan. Although you can now on a package tour. But yeah, obviously they've been inundated with requests.
Yeah. Well, during COVID, I think a lot of people, of course, had no idea when we would be able to travel.
Yep.
So it's been harder to, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
but it's awesome. It's
no,
awesome
it'd
that
be
you're going back to Spain, and it's a great base. And yeah, I mean, it'd be great to fly up to Scandinavia, where if you go the higher parts, I mean, the sun never sets. Go above the Arctic Circle if you're really daring. And
yes, so that's the plan. While it's hot and everyone's busy in August, and then I'll do the other bits and pieces, a little bit of bucket list. I have to do a few little jobs, family jobs there, and then I'll do a bit of bucket list stuff. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Fantastic. And one of your bucket list items should be to test drive a Model Y. So you should definitely, you can book that. Well, there's Tesla's big time in Spain. Well, they're all over Europe actually. So
would I need to book it?
Yes. So I don't know how far in advance you can book. So I never thought to ask Nigel, because he's obviously booked a test drive. I think it's tomorrow. And he obviously did that a number of weeks earlier, but I don't, look, I've never booked a test drive, to be honest. I don't know how the calendar works, whether you can just book a date several months in the future or how that works.
I'll get one of my cousins to find out.
Yes.
They can organize it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I suppose there are available for hire as well.
Yes. I've hired Teslas in the past from Austria, and they're expensive.
Okay.
But
yes,
you know, it's familiar.
I don't plan on driving too much because I don't need that hassle. It's just not worth it if there's a problem, and they're very busy and on the other side of the road and so on. So if I did, I would only do it for a few days in the countryside.
Well, it takes time. Yeah, like you know, it takes time to get used to it.
Yes.
And normally,
but come on, I love driving in Spain. It's crazy. It's so much fun.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
Absolutely mental.
It's like driving in Bali. It's almost that level.
Try test riding a local's motorbike in Cambodia, and then tell me about it. But yeah, Spain. Yeah, Emma often reminds me of the day that we nearly got killed on her birthday by someone going straight across us on a roundabout in Spain. So
good night, Richard.
Bye, mate.
Night, Dr. Cooper.
So have fun, Carmen.
Yeah. So that's good. No, I won't do too many risky things. It's not worth the hassle.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome, but it's great to get out.
Yeah.
And
but I might take a little cruise and do maybe some French lessons or Italian, brush up. I used to be quite proficient, but probably need a refresher course.
You get a bit rusty, and you sort of get tired because you listen very intently, and it's you
yes,
concentrate.
Yes, Spanish is fine, but French and Italian are a little bit rusty. And some of the cruise ships around the Mediterranean in Spain, they're very cheap compared to the ones here.
Yes.
So it's worth checking. I've got a few cousins doing a little bit of research. So we'll get something organized before I go.
Well, your mission is to look up where the superchargers are, and if they're nearby,
Yes.
just go there and take a photo.
Yes.
That'd be
yes.
cool.
Definitely. No, it'll be good. I should, I can still join our session from there. It's
Oh,
the
yes.
timings, okay?
Oh no, the timing's perfect because, for instance,
Yeah.
right now
I was joining from Thailand, Carmen.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's the same
Really?
time zone, Damo.
Yeah,
Jeez,
it's 7
man.
hours behind.
Oh, I'm half
so,
asleep. Sorry about that.
so it's
Yeah.
about
So London
lunchtime.
is Spain the same as GMT?
It's 7
so it's-
hours. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's a quarter to
No, it's an
4
hour
in the
difference.
afternoon.
yeah, yeah. So it's lunchtime though. Don't forget they have a big long lunch.
Yes, that's right. So
However, I don't have to have lunch every day at that time.
no, so literally at 12 o'clock
Yeah.
at lunchtime, you can join
Yeah.
us at the start. Or
Yeah.
12:30, you can join us at the
Yes.
start,
Yes.
and then you can rock on until 4 o'clock, and then we'll be like bedtime, and that's
Oh,
that's it.
oh,
Well, we
My
might have
classes-
a talk around the clock where we go 24 hours, and then
Yeah.
you can do the afternoon shift or the
Yeah.
evening shift for us,
yeah.
Carmen.
Well, my cousins to have supper because they have a big lunch, and to
Yes.
have supper they don't start till midnight. Serious.
Well, so when do the shops open? 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock?
Between 9 and 10,
Yep.
but they go through till about 1 a.m. in the morning.
So when the schools start?
Or that's during the summer holidays. During
Oh, yep.
school time, they start at 9 in the morning.
Yep.
They go home at lunch at 12,
Yep.
1 o'clock generally. They go
Yep.
back at 3, out at 6. And
School?
yeah,
So
yeah.
school finishes at 6. Wow.
Yes. And then they go promenading, but the sun doesn't go down till 10 p.m.
Yes.
So it's a little bit different. They don't go out promenading till 6 p.m. till about 9, and then the children go home at 9, have supper at 10 and go to bed. The adults don't go till 12. And if it's summer holidays, it's just party time. They just don't care. They don't care. They don't do any work during the day.
Is that why they drive so well? Because they're just super tired and
Yeah.
buzzing from partying.
Yeah. And normally during the summer during August, September, it's all fiestas in every village. So you go from one to the other to the other. Yeah.
So no wonder all the people from Britain, from the UK, just
Yes,
flock to
yeah.
Spain because it's just a
Yep.
party.
Especially Ibiza,
Damn right.
Mallorca. Yeah. Mijas.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
Excellent.
what is it that Mickey Flanagan, the comedian, said? The British arrived in Spain in the 70s and conquered the Spanish.
Yeah.
We like to think so, anyway.
Oh, the south of Spain is full of English.
Yeah, that's why I'm not there.
Yeah. No,
Well,
it's-
less now because the UK is out of the EU, but
Yes. Yeah, yes. Yeah, but they have flights. They like standby, and it's
Yes.
£50. No luggage. You just take a backpack. But they go for weekends. All the young kids just go.
A good one is you go on Friday morning to like Ibiza, and then do Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and come home Monday.
Yes.
And then go back to work for a rest.
Yes. Exactly.
I was talking
I think you might have done that yourself.
Who, me, Carmen?
Well, I was talking to one of the presidents of the Norway Tesla Owners Club, and he and his partner would fly from Oslo to London to watch a movie
Oh, yeah.
because the flight was like you say, it was 30, 40 euros. You know,
Yes.
the taxi it was dearer to get the taxi to the airport than it was to get the plane
Yes.
from Oslo
Yes.
to London. And they would
Yes.
just,
Actually,
you know,
Oslo's not cheap. Oslo is quite expensive. I found the most expensive city in Scandinavia. Finland is
Yeah, it
very
is.
good, and Copenhagen. And
oh yes, Denmark. Yes.
yes,
Yep. Well, no,
There-
to see that
Yeah.
it was funny because the Norwegians, the owners club president and secretary or whatever, they'd go to the Tesla dues, and they would drink spirits out of the minibar because they thought the prices were reasonable. Because in Norway it's really expensive.
Yeah.
Like cost of living is super expensive.
Yes, it is.
They would drink out of the minibar thinking that was a good deal.
Wow. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway.
In
Cool.
fact, it was in the last time I went to Oslo, which was about 5 years ago, I stayed in a hotel that didn't have a reception. It was all automated because all their trains, everything's automated.
Yep.
It was a little bit scary to begin with, but once you get used to it, it was pretty cool. And they were very reasonably priced because there were no humans there managing. You only had a number to call if there was an issue. And I think at the time they were about $120 a room night that looked a little bit like IKEA.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
But
Oh,
you know, it was very interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely. But this time you're just going to go to Spain as a base and then just.
Yes, I've got to do there's some stuff with my parents that I've got to sort out and legalities. And then I'll do a little bit of travel. And I'd like to go and take a cruise to the fjords.
Oh yes. Yep.
Yeah.
My wife's done
Yes.
that. It's awesome. But
Yes.
in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I think they got an award for the fjords because that was like awesome architecture, like the whole Earth was planned in that
Yes.
series. And
Yes.
they
I
definitely
haven't
got
seen
a
it.
they got an award.
Wasn't it Slothy Bardfast who drove who drew them?
Yes, absolutely. Got an award for the fjords in Norway.
Oh, really?
Because they're
Hey, Harold,
spectacular.
just quickly, were you planning on going off record at all tonight?
Or I could do it very quickly. We're going to run out of time because Pete.
Oh, it could be juicy.
Pete's
Pete's
got to go to bed by
He's-
11.
He needs his beauty sleep.
I've got to go to bed
actually,
too.
I actually
Same
need
here.
more of that than
I'm
than
actually
Pete
in bed.
does. Well, just as well. It's only your screen image. You're on mute, Pete. But all right, we'll do a very, very quickie. Hang on, let me just work out how to do that with little mousey mouse. There we go, and we're going to go pause. Oh, right.
Right.
And welcome back. Oh, I sort of wish everyone had heard that because that was an awesome discussion. But Carmen, so you're going to Spain, you're going around. It's just awesome. It is just awesome. So, Richard, you're saying you're still doing the washing. What's that all about?
We're just still doing the washing up, you know. So I can go for probably another half hour.
Really?
Hey, Richard, have you heard of a dishwasher?
Yeah, that's
He
going
is?
too. Yeah, well, no, that's me.
Oh. Have you not done the dishes for a week?
No, we kind of let it build up to Wednesday night.
Stayed at Hiva Golf Country Club.
Oh,
They have a
fancy.
very nice local there.
Really? Nice.
I must go.
It was fun.
Excellent. Yeah, well, I can't wait for Christmas going to Europe and
Yes. Oh, it's a bit cold for me.
yes. We got puffer jackets, which were in the news tonight because an Australian allegedly invented a puffer jacket, and everyone at the time, was it 100 years ago? I think it's the 100th anniversary of the puffer jacket.
Wow.
and they apparently, because he was preparing to go, I forget the gentleman's name, but he was preparing to go to Mount Everest, which he obviously didn't succeed because, Edmund Hillary did it in 50 something, 6 or 4 or something. But yeah, he invented it. So that's what you need, is a puffer jacket in the cold.
Mr. Michelin.
Exactly, the Michelin Man. Now, speaking of Michelin Men, actually, no, that's a terrible segue. It's probably time that we close this episode out.
Yes.
And I didn't mean to segue to Pete, because Pete is by no means a Michelin Man. But
I've got a few roles happening.
Well, I'm not even going to go there.
I'm full of hot air.
I think we all are.
Well,
No,
actually,
I don't think you qualify. No.
That's a great gift you've just given us, Pete, because I remember we were talking earlier, much earlier, and there's a rumor about some tire manufacturer trialing an airless tire.
Correct, on a Model
Tesla.
3 of all cars as well. And apparently they've been having some good results. It's not something that they're looking to bring into commercialization, anytime soon. I think they were sort of targeting 5-6 years from now, or even later, actually. But very exciting. Punctureless tires, essentially. And
that's good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You don't need to go to a petrol station or buy yourself an air pump to pump your tyres up.
It's really much the only regular maintenance of any type you need to do on a Tesla, apart from changing out air filters and maybe checking the brake fluid. So it'd be another bow in the arrow.
Well, that's a little last minute gift to those YouTubers that actually watched us all the way through, or maybe you were cheeky and skipped to the end to get the juicy bits. So Pete, how would you round out the show? Says me who pretends to have no idea.
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve.
And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join Tokwa, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy.
Fantastic.
On that note, take care.
Good night, everyone.
Take care, everyone, and look forward to seeing you this weekend on Sunday at where is
Power Play in Joondalup.
Power Play Joondalup, and also next Wednesday evening for another episode of Ask Us Anything. Take care, everyone.
Yeah. Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Cheers.
Bye.